Oh, yeah, we're going to start the show here in just a second. Very, very soon. This last song is dedicated to Ohio State, though. It's all about what's about to happen to you. Yeah, good morning in that. It's Uncle Lou here. Yep, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou, and guess what? I am live for you on LouTube today. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Also, into addition to that as well, welcome to Uncle Lou After Dark, college football call-in show. Feel free to call up and argue with me. The link is in the description of the video. It's a StreamYard link. If you've never used StreamYard before, don't worry. It's really easy. Even Tennessee fans have figured out how to use it. So it shouldn't be a problem for the majority of you, given that that is the case. How's everybody doing? Some of you not doing too well. I know. Nick Saban looking homeless, shaking his can on national television like a vagrant outside of a rundown gas station in the wrong part of town, begging people for a quarter so he can go inside and buy one cigarette. Got any more than playoff votes? Got any more than playoff votes? Nope, all sold out. All sold out, Lou Saban. All sold out, Nicholas Lou Saban. Sorry, buddy. Man, sitting right there at 5, so close. You can taste it, can't you? You can taste it, can't you, Gump Man? You can taste that ass beating you would have got from Georgia had you slid into that 4 spot. That's how close you are. Enjoy the Sugar Bowl against Kansas State, where they're going to drag you up and down the field for 4 quarters like a dead body. That's what's going to happen. Don't bother wasting your time over the next 4 weeks pretending you think Alabama's going to win just so you can spend 8 months in the offseason telling everybody, well, Alabama didn't even want to be there. Remember the Oklahoma game? Woo, we didn't want to be there either. So just don't waste your time with that dumb stuff. No one wants to hear it. You're going to get beat by Kansas State because they're better than you. It's that simple. Alabama's not very good. Alabama might be the worst 10-2 team I've ever seen. They're absolutely horrific. With that being said, at least they didn't get blown out at home by Michigan. How embarrassing would that be? You talk about scraping the bottom of the barrel. You got a bunch of people sitting around for 365 days crying into their Fruit Loops about what they're going to do to Michigan when we get our revenge next year. And then you show up at home in perfect weather and take a giant fucking dump on the 50-yard line for 4 quarters against your biggest rival in your biggest game of the year. But lucky for you, Lincoln Riley is Lincoln Riley. Right? Lincoln Riley is Lincoln Riley. Southern Cal fans, y'all ought not be crying either. You knew what you were getting. You got exactly what you thought you were getting. Exactly what you got exactly what you knew you were getting and what everyone else knew you were getting. An amazing offense every year. A Heisman caliber quarterback every year. And a defense that can't stop a nosebleed on a 4-year-old. That's the worst defensive performance I've seen in a major game. That Pac-12 title game against Utah is the worst defensive performance I've seen in a major game since every major game Oklahoma has played in the last 4 years. And you got Southern Cal fans running around acting surprised. And let me tell you something else too, Southern Cal man. It's not going to get any better. It's the same thing. Oklahoma fans for years sat around going, well, next year the defense will be better and maybe we can do something that matters. And then the next year would come around and guess what? Same thing. Same thing. No defense. So please tell me Southern Cal fans aren't sitting around going, well, maybe the defense will be better next year. No. You better figure out a way to score 80 points a game instead of 45. I don't know what else to tell you. And you're getting ready to go to the Big Ten? Whee! Oh, Trojan man. The condom broke on you, didn't it? The condom broke and out came Lincoln Riley's defense. Well, I hate to say we told you so, but literally everybody on planet Earth told you so. Congratulations, Trojan man. Congratulations. Click the link if you want to be on the show. It's in the description of the video. Make sure you're hitting the thumbs up at the start of the show. It's a huge help to a live stream. Literally takes no time, effort, or energy to do it. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up. We're going to get right to the phone calls here in just a second. I do want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight, though, to Uncle Lou After Dark, the college football call-in show. YouTube's longest-running college football call-in show, period, bar none. Appreciate you being a part of it. Without callers, can't have call-in show. Yeah, it would just be me ranting and raving about how shitty Southern Cal's defense is, how soft Ohio State is, how pitiful and miserable Alabama is, and on and on and on. And there's just no point in me doing that when we could be talking to you good people. So click that link, and we'll get to it. Here's the final playoff rankings right here. To those of you who are new to paying attention to playoff rankings, which, let's see, Tennessee fans and probably Kansas State fans and Southern Cal fans, this is the last playoff ranking. They don't put out a playoff ranking after the playoffs. This is it. So that's the final playoff ranking. The only other ranking you'll get will be the AP and the coaches ranking after the national championship game. So I'm here to educate. I feel like I've done my part. So now we can move on, take roll, make sure everyone is here, present, and accounted for. Then we'll get to the phone calls. James Holly, thank you for hitting the super chat at the start of the show today. He says, can I get a Go Dogs? And I heard somewhere that Ohio State has hired the chart as an on-field analyst. Yeah, seemed to work real well for Alabama this year, didn't it? Chart. The greatest coach of all time, Nick Saban, you paying this man $10 million a year to make decisions based off of a fucking Butch Jones chart. Fucking bunch of idiots down there. Appreciate the super chat, sir. Eric Odom, thank you for the super chat. He says Williams is winning the Heisman. Yep, that would be my pick. If I had to vote between the 4 finalists, it would be Caleb Williams, Max Duggan, C.J. Stroud, and Stetson Bennett in that order. That's the order I would vote the Heisman in. Of course, I'm not a Heisman voter because I don't have time. I don't have time to vote for the Heisman, so for that reason, I'm not a Heisman voter. Speaking of Heisman, though, the hottest holiday gift of the season has hit the market. That's right. It's the I Love Stetson shirt, available only on the Uncle Lou T-shirt store. What's your problem? Why haven't you ordered it yet? I don't know. It's a good question. Link in the description of the video. Get your I Heart Stetson shirt immediately, or get it sooner than immediately if you can figure out a way to do that, which I don't know if you can, but you're welcome to try. Max Batten, thank you for tuning in today, sir. West Rito, Georgia. Fox Moldar, Sir UGA, Nikki G. Bo Hunting, Big Orange Slice, JJ, Phonum Unit, Tim Skelton, Michigan Man, Jason, Omar Harrell, Frank Carone, Nick DTV, D1114N, I feel like you just made that up at random, Ray Bob, Mike Stevens, John Rambo, what? Man, thank you for your service. Yeah, Kevin Wood, Ryan is bussin'. Sports Talk 101, Ben Gunnels, Coach B, Frank Carone, Matthew Cooley, Jace Vincent, Harry Leggy. Yeah, appreciate everybody tuning in. Hope y'all had a good weekend. Hope your week got off to a good start. Mine did. Thanks for asking. What's today? Tuesday? Yeah, today's Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. No bowl games this week. Got Army-Navy game on Saturday. I enjoy the Army-Navy game. I mean, I'm not going to pretend I can name a bunch of players on Army and Navy. I can't. I'm not going to pretend like I want watch a bunch of Army-Navy games during the season. I don't. But ever since I was a kid, ever since I first started watching college football, the Army-Navy game has always been on a weekend by itself at the end of the year like it still is now. And I don't know. I've just been watching that game for a really, really long time. And hopefully I'll be able to watch it this weekend as well. That, of course, depends on my how my weekend getaway recruitment goes for the remainder of the week. You saw my video earlier. I have entered the weekend getaway transfer portal. I was committed to Greenville, South Carolina. However, the offer was kind of flimsy. I received another offer from the Charleston area, and right now I'm leaning in that direction. I am committed to Charleston, however, have not signed. Signing day is not till Friday on my weekend getaway, but right now I am verbally committed to Charleston for the weekend, the Charleston, Summerville area. Their offer was a little bit better than the offer I received from Greenville. The offer I received from Greenville was basically like, yeah, you can come to Greenville and take me out to lunch if you want to. That's what Jackpot told me, which is a good offer. I'd love to take Jackpot out to lunch, but the Summerville offer was a little bit better. as they went ahead and offered Uncle Lou room and board, and they promised to take me to an oyster restaurant. Jackpot and some of the people on his stream were talking about Applebee's and some other stuff like that Uncle Lou ain't got no interest in. So right now, thankful for the offer from Greenville, which wasn't really an offer at all. I invited myself, but thankful for that. But had to decommit from Greenville. Currently committed to Charleston for my weekend getaway this weekend. I am in the transfer portal. I am still taking offers. I'm still reviewing my options, but I am currently verbally committed to Charleston for the weekend. Signing day is Friday. All right, hit the thumbs up if you hadn't already. If you'd like to support the show, Super Chat, Cash App, and PayPal are great ways to do it. Super Chat's right below the comments section, and the Cash App and the PayPal link are located in the description of the video. You can attach a note, question, comment, or troll attempt to any of those, and I'll be happy to read them and respond. I just posted the PayPal and the Cash App link in the comments section, but like I said, they're in the description of the video, as is the link to the I Heart Stetson shirt, which everyone needs for Christmas, obviously. I ordered mine, paid an extra $11 for rush delivery because I need it sooner rather than later. I plan on sleeping in my I Heart Stetson shirt until it literally just falls apart. That's my plans for that. There's not a bigger Stetson Bennett supporter on the planet than Uncle Lou. Staquavius has been my favorite nephew, going all the way back to the fourth quarter of last year's national title game. So, yeah, it is what it is. Don't argue with me about it either. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Hey, Uncle Lou. How's it going?
It's going good, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good, other than the fact that, every time you read my name, that you kind of give me a little bit of, pedophile kind of thing.
What's your name? Knoxville Predator Hunter?
NC Kitty Fishing.
Oh, with 2 T's, though. I know. I always make sure everyone knows it's with 2 T's.
Yeah, but it's still funny as hell to me.
Yeah,
I still enjoy it.
If it was 2 D's, that would be alarming.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, man, I just first of all, this is my first time calling in.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
And this is awesome. I just got to say, Georgia is going to eliminate everybody. I mean, right.
Telling them that right off the bat, huh? You're going to hurt their feelings at the very beginning of the show?
I mean, I'm sorry, for Michigan.
You're just keeping it real.
Everybody else. I don't see Georgia losing, but I am a South Carolina fan, and I am disappointed in Carolina Jackpot for not letting you come over.
Well, oh yeah, now that's true. Yeah, he did tell me I couldn't come to his house. That was another thing that made me re-enter the vacation getaway transfer portal. He told me I could come to Greenville, but that he didn't have any room at his house for me, that I could just take him to lunch, which is great. I'd love to take Jackpot to lunch, but I don't know. It didn't seem like I was very high on his priority list. It seemed like maybe he had some other recruits he was more interested in.
Well, see, that's very disappointing because he always talks highly of you.
I know.
And I figured that maybe he would,
I know. And
let's
I've been
come
wanting to
over
meet Jackpot
and
for
do
a
a
while.
co-stream with you, which would be amazing.
I would have loved to have streamed the Army-Navy game with him, but he just didn't seem too interested in it. It was a little weird. It hurt my feelings a little bit, but I have recuperated, and all you can do is pick yourself up, dust yourself off. How you doing? Keep it moving. You know what I mean?
That's very true.
Yeah.
Well, either way, I'm a South Carolina fan, even though I have North Carolina in my name. I was born and raised in South Carolina. Yeah, born and raised against the South Carolina-Clemson rivalry. That's how I became a South Carolina fan. But, so we have the Orange Bowl, which is basically the Beamer Bowl, right? And then we have
Beamer beat them both. Yeah, beat both Tennessee and Clemson. Yeah.
And then we have South Carolina and Notre Dame in the Gator Bowl. Both
two
teams
interesting
have
games.
beat Clemson.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on both of those games? That's all I got to ask.
Yeah. All right, I'll let you go and answer that for you. I think the Clemson Tennessee game is one of the most interesting bowl game matchups that they gave us this year, which is in general one of my biggest complaints about bowl season. Unlike a lot of people, I don't complain about the number of bowls. I don't care that 5-win teams get to bowls. I mean, I really don't understand diehard college football fans complaining that there are too many games. Seems to me the more the merrier. But I do wish they would do a better job of giving us interesting games in the bowl season. And I think Tennessee and Clemson is a very interesting game. I think it'll be a good game. It's getting harder and harder to predict what might happen in some of these bowl games, especially 2 or 3 weeks out, because we don't really know who all is going to play or sit out or opt out or whatever fancy word you want to call it. It's quitting is what it is. Basically what I'm saying, you don't know who all is going to quit. You don't know who all is going to pull a Jackson Smith and Jigba. Although I will say for Jackson Smith and Jigba, he made a wise decision. The last thing Jackson Smith and Jigba needs is to play against UGA in 4 weeks and just completely ruin his draft stock. So he's better off. He's better off financially in the long run as far as his draft status goes. Just sitting that one out. So hard to hold that against him, but. But both of those games you mentioned are interesting games. If every bowl game was matched up that way, I think there would be a lot less issues with the bowl system. But these conference tie-ins that they have where certain bowls have to take certain teams from certain conferences, a lot of times it just leaves us with matchups that you just scratch your head and go, is this, why? But both of those are going to be really, really good. As far as predicting either of those games, like I said, I got to wait. I'm probably not going to predict many of these bowl games until a couple of days before they're played because it's the last 3 or 4 years, it's just more and more of these players quitting and deciding not to play, which makes it hard to predict the games. But those are two of those 2 games are really high on my list of bowl games in terms of games I can't wait to watch. Thank you for calling in, buddy. It was good to hear from you. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Hey, Lou. How's it going?
Hey, buddy. What's up?
Man, good. I was actually stationed in Charleston, South Carolina, and Summerville is a nice little spot.
Yeah.
Yes. But a couple of things here. I was that one Alabama fan who knew they weren't getting in, and I don't think they should have gotten in. But and I think they're going to lose at K-State. You're going to have opt-outs. Gosh, may not give it all, but I think in that case, maybe Saban should use it as a spring game. But play some of those young guys in there, see what they have.
Yeah, I agree with you. And there's some people that would like to see bowl games go that way as a rule. Like upperclassmen can't play in bowl games type of deal where it has to be an underclassman game. I don't know if we'll ever get to that point, but I'm kind of like you. I don't like it when the players sit out, but I do like that I get to see maybe some players that haven't got an opportunity to play that I will be seeing next year, whether it's a quarterback or a defensive end or whatever it is. You usually get to see some players that you haven't seen much this season.
Yeah, because I want to see Ty Simpson.
Yeah.
Because I already know what we have in Jalen Milroe. You cannot teach a guy how to throw.
Right.
You got to have instincts. And I think Ty Simpson, just give him the game, win or lose, just see what he has. Because these transfer quarterbacks, why would we go and get a transfer quarterback? Just start the young guy, because you're going to end up losing that guy anyway. But one thing I did want to bring up, this transfer portal. I'm thinking a lot of these kids aren't getting good advice because look at how many kids don't get in the portal. And even at the FCS level, only 38% even find a new home at the FCS level.
Yeah.
Now, and people say, well, these coaches leave, but they have a job lined up. If you don't have a school lined up, you're going to be back at home probably working at UPS somewhere. And I think these kids need representation.
I agree with sort of the principle of what you're saying. I do. You say they're getting bad advice. I think in a lot of cases they're not getting any advice at all outside of maybe the coaches who, let's be real, have their own agenda. They don't want to lose these players. and then maybe their parents or whatever. But like, they're not allowed to have agents technically. Now, whether or not that's actually going on or not is a whole other discussion. But, so I don't know. Maybe they do need some type of agent type representation for the transfer portal. I don't know that that's the answer. I'm all for kids having the ability to change schools. I hear you that when coaches change, they have something else lined up. But the point is they have that option. Forever, the players didn't, and I don't think that's right. I do think the players should have an option to change schools if they want to for some particular reason or for no reason at all, just because, you know what, I thought I would like it here. I don't. I want to try somewhere else. So I'm all for that. And then I'm torn on the number of players that go into the portal and end up with nowhere to go. I want to feel bad for them, but like you had a place. And you left, and now you got nowhere to go. Like you sort of made your own bed type of deal. You know what I mean? Like, so I do feel bad for the players that don't end up with a spot, but like the amount of bad that I feel for them has a low ceiling on it because no one made you enter the portal.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, that's how the real world works. You may take a chance, try to start a business, doesn't work out. And I just think that sometimes that what this old saying, the bird in the hand is better than two in the bush.
Yeah.
You got your spot, you got your 4 years. And sometimes you may actually get your shot. Because I remember Brian Robinson sat many years at Alabama. He got his shot, and he's a started running back for Washington right now.
Yeah, he shined when he got in there. And you used to see that all the time. I mean, in my lifetime, I'm old enough to remember when it was extremely rare to see a sophomore starting somewhere. Now you see freshmen starting all over the place. So this idea of, let me graduate high school, find a college, go there, learn the system, develop for a year or two, earn my way on into a starting role, that seems to have gone out the window. For a lot of people, not everybody, but for a lot of them. And again, I feel like they should have the right to make that decision. I do feel bad that some of them end up making the wrong decision, but I don't know what the answer is because I don't think we should be telling kids no, you can't transfer. Like in the end, it's got to be their, we call them kids, but they're 18. I mean, whenever we're looking to distract for something, we send these same 18-year-olds halfway across the world to die for no reason. So they're not really kids in that respect. If one of them rapes your wife, they're not going to YDC, they're going to prison. So, I understand we call them kids because maybe they're not mentally developed until they're 24 or 25, but they're not really kids. I mean, so if a 19-year-old is hell-bent on transferring from Alabama to Oklahoma, I think he should have the right to do that. And if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out.
Yeah, and my last thing before I run, Lou, one, Trayshawn Holden had more drops and touchdown catches this year. Screw me. And also, Anthony Richardson, yeah, he'll be working a real job in about 3 years. Whoever gave him an advice to leave, they're idiots. But hey, Lou, man, thanks for taking my call, man. Talk to you again soon.
Yeah, man, it was good to hear from you. Yeah, my thoughts on the Anthony Richardson thing is I clearly don't think he's ready for the NFL. However, in his case, I actually think he's so bad that he's better off going to the NFL now. I feel like the longer he stays in college, the worse his draft stock is going to get. It's the opposite of what you normally see, where a kid develops and gets better, and they're like, oh, come back one more year, try to increase your draft stock. I feel like the more that Anthony Richardson puts on tape, the less the NFL is going to be interested in him. Because let's be real when it comes to Anthony Richardson. He's an underwear Olympics champion. That's it. He looks like he was built in a lab. He can run like the wind. He can throw the ball 80 yards from his knees. He's going to destroy the combine, and that's great. But the problem is we've all seen him play quarterback, and he's not any good. And that's under two different coaches, two different head coaches, two different offensive schemes. The reality is the guy can't throw a pass to a receiver. And no matter how much offense has changed in college football, that is still the bottom line for a quarterback. You have got to be able to complete a pass, and Anthony Richardson can't do it. And so in his case, I don't think he's going to get better by coming back to college for one more year. If anything, he's just going to hurt his draft stock more by playing a third year and looking like shit. So I think he's better off going to the NFL, blowing everybody away at the combine. There'll be a million articles written about his 40 time and how high he can jump. And oh my God, did you see the throw he made and all this and that? But we've all seen him play quarterback. He's not any good. But I do think he's making the right decision because the longer he stays in college, I think the worse off he'll get. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Hey, is now a good time? I heard you have a call-in show or something.
It's a good time for me. I mean,
Oh, okay. No, I'm good. Hey, I got something to admit. I grew up an Ohio State fan. My parents both went there. They dressed us up as kids, as like Ohio State fans and everything. And yeah, I ended up going to Georgia. I think I've talked to you before about this, and I don't know. I just really don't want to lose this game. They're really obnoxious up there. Place is a shithole. And a lot of what you say about Ohio is true. All they have is LeBron James, Ohio State, and two shitty cities, and that is Cleveland and Cincinnati. And yeah, I mean, they're really just dumb fans overall. I mean, I've had them tell me, that the playoff committee is all SEC like homers, and they just want the SEC to be in the playoffs and all this crap. And I've gotten in fights with them about it before, but I really just don't want to lose this game. I don't know. Do you have any advice for trolling them the next month?
Well, there's always the whole 5-12 against the SEC and winless all time against Georgia
I've
deal
told them that
you can hit them with.
I tell them that, and then the guy
they're soft as fuck. They get blown out every time they play a team that can run the ball. I mean, they've given up 900 yards rushing in their last 3 losses, and that's to Michigan and Oregon. What do you think Georgia's going to do to them? I mean, Michigan is just a slightly less talented version of Georgia. This is basically a home game for Georgia. Ohio State won't be able to cry about the weather. They will be able to cry about the game being in Georgia, though. That'll be the excuse the minute the game ends. Yeah. We already know that. C.J. Stroud is really, really good, and so are those wide receivers. But you can't throw the ball to it. No matter how good a quarterback is and how good the wide receivers are, you can't throw in the ball if your dick is in the dirt for half the game. So good luck, C.J.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. We can lose this game, 100%. It would surprise me, but yeah, they're probably the most dangerous team still left for us to play. I expect us to win, but I don't know. It would just suck for me. You're dealing with that shit for the next because we don't play them very often. So if they lose, I got to go through that shit for years.
Yeah, that's true. But hopefully, you won't have to do that. Hey, thank you for the call. It was good to hear from. You. Appreciate you taking the time to call in. James Holly, thank you again for the super chat. He says, I'm disappointed we didn't get the We Don't Want Sunbelt Billy Bowl between Florida and Louisiana Lafayette. Yeah, that would have been good. Instead, Florida's got to get the absolute soul beat out of them by Oregon State. God, Oregon State is going to beat Florida so bad. I think it might be worse than that beating they got from Oklahoma a couple of years ago. I really do. I really think Oregon State might really lay it on Florida. First of all, they're just a better team. Second of all, Sunbelt Bill. Look, as much as Sunbelt Billy hates me, he called me yesterday. He asked me to go play quarterback in the bowl game. Like, they've got nobody to play quarterback for them in the bowl game. It's a sad state of affairs down there in Gainesville. It really is. But yeah, Florida versus Louisiana Lafayette would have been a much more interesting game than Florida at Oregon State, because Oregon State's going to absolutely humiliate them. I mean, they're just going to, they're going to beat them lifeless. I really don't see any other outcome to that game. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
What's going on, Lou? It's Cadillac. How you doing, bud?
Doing good. What's up, bud?
Not much. Listen, a couple of things. First, Deion Sanders, Colorado. What do you think about that? You think it's a fail, a win? Maybe you don't know in between. What?
I'm a Deion Sanders fan. I mean, I grew up watching Deion Sanders play for the Braves and the Falcons and take a helicopter from one stadium to the other in the same day. So, I mean, I like Deion Sanders. He's entertaining. No, I don't think he'll be successful at Colorado.
Do you think is it his coaching style, or his just the inability to relate as a college football coach in a Power 5, or?
Well, I don't think he's got the experience to be a successful Power 5 head coach. Some of the things he does and says, I don't think are going to fly in today's. We all complain about sort of the era of entitlement that we're in with some of these kids and players, but the reality is, to at least to a certain degree, you do kind of have to cater to these kids a little bit, at least. I mean, they kind of got nothing forever. Now it feels like they're getting everything. And so maybe it's a swing and, maybe the pendulum swung too far in one direction too quick or something. But, walking into the Colorado players meeting and telling them they're not any good and that if you're a quarterback on this team, you might as well transfer because I'm bringing my son with me and pointing it. I mean, there's a Colorado player. There's a Colorado player sitting in the front row. He's got some sort of a leg injury because he's got his leg up on one of those rolly cart things that you see people walking around the mall in when they've got one leg up on the roll cart. And he basically points at that guy and he's like, if you're injured, you're not any good to us. You might as well transfer. And the look on this guy's face is just like he can't believe what he's hearing. I don't know. I just don't know if that's gonna. I don't know if that's gonna.
Well, Lou, I
fly.
think what he was basically doing, it was kind of like breaking them down to rebuild them, kind of like what the military does. I think he was just checking them, the gut checking them a little bit. Maybe he was a bit harsh, but look, they're 1-11, so. What has he got to lose? He's in charge of turning it around. So
yeah,
But enough about that. I got a couple more things, and then I'll let you run. Hang on, let me get my dog shut up. But okay, now Ohio State, Georgia. Love the matchup. I think Georgia's front seven on defense is a little much for them. However, Nussmeier, the backup from LSU, kind of not a blueprint, but he showed. Like, how Alabama got exposed in the back end a little bit, that Georgia may be a little susceptible if he has time to get rid of it. Do you see that as an issue, or do you think they will have it game plan ready and
well,
there's nothing to really worry about?
Well, I think the answer is both. If C.J. Stroud is able to sit in the pocket for 8 seconds, then Georgia will lose. I don't think because of what I saw in the second half against LSU that means that's what's going to happen against Ohio State. I mean, the game was over halfway through the second quarter. I don't put a whole lot of stock into what I saw in one half against LSU
played a lot of base defense
versus what I saw in the other 11 and a half games, nothing I saw in the second half against LSU makes me more concerned about the Ohio State game because I don't think that's going to happen in the Ohio State game. It might happen in the second half if we're up 40-10 like we were on LSU and, you change what you're doing, but I'm not.
Right.
No, that doesn't worry me.
I told you, I'm all about Georgia now, but they look, if they get by Ohio State, I think it's theirs to grab because I don't think, even though Michigan's eerily similar, I just don't think that, since they play just alike, I think they'll just, talent will win that ball game.
Yeah.
TCU, you know what I think about them. I think they're a great story, and there's no way they're beating Georgia. So, and one last thing, I heard right when you was coming on about Kansas State, Alabama, I had to throw it in here. I'm willing to throw 100 down on it, Lou, straight up. If you want to do it.
No, no. I'm not a sucker like that LSU guy. I don't bet games straight up on a huge underdog. No, I'm not nearly that dumb.
But now hear me clearly. I'm picking, Lou, but you said Kansas State will beat Alabama. Alabama's just not that good. Right. I'll give you the points.
I'll take the points. Yeah.
What is it, 4? The line 4?
No, I think it's a touchdown. Hold on, I'll look it up. I got it right here.
Let's check real quick before I make that guarantee. But I don't think it's much more than 4 points. I may be wrong.
I looked at it last night. I think it's a touchdown or 9.
And that's playing Ty Simpson and crew. Ty Simpson's a great quarterback, man. He hasn't been, he hasn't shown his stuff yet, but he can do it.
Alabama 3.5.
Well, what do you think, Luke?
I'll take Kansas State 3.5.
You take Kansas State to 3?
3.5. 3.5.
3.5, right? All right. Well, if I'm able, I'll go ahead and shoot you that on your Cash App or PayPal. One of them. I'll send it. And I guess I know the drill. If I win, if I lose, you know what it is. Lou, thank you for taking my call, bud. Roll Tide.
All right, buddy. Talk to you next time.
All right.
All right. Yeah. And write that down immediately. So what do I have? Kansas State plus 3.5 versus Bama. All right, then. It's a bet. The guy never hung up. I'll hang up for you. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
What's up, Lewis? Thanks, great. How you doing, sir?
Doing good, Newt. What's up, buddy?
I'm doing good. I'm more excited for the TCU game for my Wolverines.
That's right.
I even want to play on this. No, excuse me. I even want to play on the game. Play on Christmas or something. but I have to wait for 3 weeks. I think. I don't know. But here's my score prediction. Hopefully, I don't jinx it. Probably will. Michigan, 38. TCU, 31.
That would be a good game, at least.
Yeah, I probably just jinxed it, but who knows? If TCU wins, props to them. I mean, I would be mad, yes, but and for Georgia and Ohio State, I think Ohio State gets curb stomped, like a baby doll, and with marshmallows. So. Yeah, because they're soft. But have a good morning, Nate, and also too.
All right, Nate. Appreciate you coming on, buddy. Good to hear from you. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Hello?
Hello?
Hey,
Come on in.
So, you say Alabama doesn't deserve to get in the playoffs because they have 2 losses, correct?
Well, that's one of the reasons.
Well, so, let me say this. If Alabama and TCU played, who would be favored?
What does that have to do? Who was favored when you played Tennessee?
We were.
Who was favored when you played LSU?
We were.
Okay, so you agree that doesn't matter.
2 plays. 2 plays on the last play of the game.
What about the 3 games you won on the last play of the game? Should we count those as losses?
I'm saying we would be favored versus TCU.
Why do you sound like Kermit the Frog? What are you doing with your? What's going on here? You don't talk that way. That can't be. That can't be how you talk for real.
So, are you gonna?
Come on, Lieutenant Dan. What's up?
Hold on, my mic is messing up.
Yeah, well, we'll give you some time to work on that. It's a good troll attempt, though. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Sorry. Kermit had me a little befuddled there.
Yeah.
That one. But, hope that sound okay.
You sound like Miss Piggy. What are you doing? No, I'm just kidding. You
I thought
sound
my
fine, man.
internet-
Come on. You sound fine.
Sorry. My internet was cutting out for a second. My bad.
That's all right.
But I love the matchup with Tennessee and Clemson. I think it'd be a great game, but I think so it's the battle of the backup quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's a lot of kind of weird angles to this game. The orangest Orange Bowl ever.
Mm-hmm.
Both getting dick slapped by South Carolina, and then both teams will have backup quarterbacks for 2 different reasons, obviously. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting kind of side angles to this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw it. I think Hard Rock Stadium is probably the only stadium that I've heard that doesn't allow tailgating outside of it.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I guess they just don't pull enough people to go there to tailgate.
Damn. That's sad.
I mean, just looking at a Miami game, it's like 5 people there. So, I mean, they have no real reason to tailgate. So it is what it is.
Yeah, that's true. It is what it is.
But yeah, I think Tennessee will go out. I think I'm just being optimistic that they'll win. Then they'll probably like flip some burgers afterwards after the game. You know, just quoting by Dabo.
Yeah, that's the other part of this thing. It's funny. Once it was pretty obvious that Clemson and Tennessee were going to play in a bowl game, Dabo Swinney tried to, oh, no, I didn't really mean it that way. He tried to, like, take it back or whatever a week after he'd said it or whatever. I was like, okay, yeah, well. But Dabo Swinney has a habit of that. Remember a couple of years ago, he was like, Ohio State ain't no good. They only played 5 games. I voted them 13th in my poll. Well, then like a week later, we found out Clemson was playing Ohio State in the playoffs, and Ohio State beat the absolute soul out of them.
Maybe after Tennessee beats them, they'll go down to like 130th in his poll. But hey, Alabama still has a shot in the playoffs. By the way, I know like they lost 2 games. Did you know they lost 2 games on the last play of the game?
Yeah, crazy.
Like,
it's weird how that happens.
I mean, like, it was in the toughest environments in the country. Like they should have won this game. I mean,
win your games. I mean, it don't make no sense. I mean, they should. Bryce Young was injured. No, he wasn't. Bryce Young wasn't injured against Tennessee or LSU. You know how I know? Because he played.
Exactly.
Injured players don't play. Hurt players play. But breaking news, hurt players play every game of the season for every team, weeks 1 through the end of the year. You've got somebody on your team is hurt and playing in every friggin' game. Oh, well, Bryce Young was hurt. You want to know who was injured? Quinn Ewers in the Alabama-Texas game. He was injured. Or else you would have lost. You know who was injured? Texas A&M starting quarterback. And their backup lost to you on the last play of the game. So all this talk about, well, we almost did this and we almost did that. Yeah, you almost went 7-5, dummy.
And they said they should have gotten over TCU because they lost to Kansas State. But like, they both played Texas, and TCU dominated Texas with Quinn Ewers.
There's just no legitimate reason to put Alabama in over either TCU or Ohio State. There's just not any reason at all.
And then at halftime in the Big Ten Championship, watching Nick Saban cry.
Oh my God, saddest thing I've ever seen. And he didn't even look like he believed it himself. Like I don't know who told him to do that, but whoever told him to do that should be fired. I guess it's that handler that walks around with him and explains things to him all day long and feeds him his Jell-O. That guy, he needs to be replaced. He never should have been allowed to do that. It was one of the saddest things I've ever seen.
It was the chart, though. It was the chart.
The chart said to beg. Go on Fox and beg. Yeah, that'll help. What a joke.
All right, I'll let you get those people now.
All right, Jace. Good to hear from you, buddy. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou. You have to unmute yourself.
Uncle Lou, I'm so sorry.
There you go.
I just want to say I thought it was incredibly weak when Lincoln Riley, after the game, said that Caleb Williams wouldn't let him pull him out, even though it was clear that Caleb Williams was just limping on one foot and he kept getting like sacked really badly. And then after the game, Lincoln Riley was like, "Oh, he wouldn't let me take him out." I was like, "Well, it's clear you're going to lose this game. You're the head coach, so why are you letting a guy injured play and Utah was blitzing every play, and they were hitting him every play." I just thought that was...
Yeah. Now, let me say first, I don't know the whole details on that story. I'm hearing this for the first time from you. But this is why players should not be allowed to make the decision about whether or not they play. This is why we have all these concussion protocols. The player always wants to play, unless they're Jackson Smith and Jigba. But other than that, or Joey Bosa. Both from Ohio State, by the way. Weird. Milked injuries, so they didn't have to play. That's odd. Maybe it's just the soft environment at Ohio State. I don't know. But anyway, what I'm saying is, that decision should not be left up to the players. The players should be examined by a trainer, medical staff, whatever the injury is, and the decision should be made separate of what the player wants.
Yeah, and the way Lincoln Riley, you said you haven't heard about this, but the way he was saying it, he was almost like using it as like almost kind of as an excuse, because he's like, yeah, Williams was only out there 20 to 30%. I tried to take him out, but Williams kept waving me back. But it's like, bro, you're the head football coach. That's the decision you got to make.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the whole, like, concussions is what gets all the headlines and what everybody talks about, but it's the same logic applies here. I mean, it's your job to protect the player against himself. You got to protect the player from himself. You know, if the player wants to play and the trainers and the medical staff or whoever else doesn't think he should be playing, you don't leave it up to the player. So, and I'm talking in general terms. I didn't hear the post-game press conference. I do know Williams was hurt to some degree. That was obvious just from watching the game. He was hobbling around there at the end. But yeah, I'm surprised a coach would come out and say that. Yeah, I wanted to take him out of the game, but he wouldn't let me.
Yeah, it's really odd. I'm surprised you haven't.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah. Well, thanks for taking my call. I just think it's just the last thing I wanted to say is just, I think it's just part of the culture that Lincoln Riley has, and it goes, you know, almost like soft, like Ohio State. They're just not tough at all. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Maybe you can get good players with that sort of mentality, but not going to get a good team at all times.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Yep. Appreciate you coming on, man. It was good to hear from you. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Oh, what's going on, Lou?
Hey, bud.
Hey, why can't I hear myself?
I ain't got no idea.
I was gonna ask you about JT Daniels. What do you think about since you used to be a JT Daniels homer, like you used to want him in every game. What do you think about him being a journeyman in college football now? Because he's gone to his fourth school. Yeah,
and he's now transferred one more time than Stetson Bennett, so he's leading that race. Stetson Bennett has only changed schools twice. JT Daniels now changed schools 3 times.
Yeah, I was wondering where do you think he's going to head to next? Like what school?
No clue. I mean, I'm guessing it's going to be somewhere that's in desperate need of a quarterback, but I don't know who that would be. I mean, I don't really know who would want him at this point. He has a hard time staying healthy. He's not very mobile. Everybody wants mobile quarterbacks now. I don't know where he'll go. I have no clue.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy because, you used to be like huge on him. And honestly, like, I feel like the last year at West Virginia, he didn't really look too hot. He got I think he got benched in his last game and then the backup came in.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that's what happened. I don't
I
really
think that's why he's
follow West
transferring.
Virginia.
Yeah, I think that's why he's transferring. He's still the only quarterback in UGA history to have a 100% winning percentage. Never lost a game.
I guess that's true. Yeah, I guess that's true. So
it is true.
He's probably, I guess he's the GOAT, huh? That makes him.
And it comes to winning percentage, he is. Yeah.
Also, what do you think about Cade Klubnik? What do you think about him and his performance against UNC?
He looked good, but I don't go full retard when I see someone come in off the bench and play well against a team that's not expecting it. Not that doesn't mean he's not going to be any good, but like I'm not all of a sudden thinking, oh, well, Klubnik's going to win the Heisman next year because he played good against North Carolina. I mean, let's be real. Every single quarterback this season except DJ Uiagalelei played good against North Carolina.
Yeah, that's pretty true. I've had a few Clemson fans because, I live in North Carolina. They've had his Peter in their mouth, talking about how great he was. But, they're saying he only had a few drop passes. But, you look back at it, some of them were overthrown. They need to calm down. He's not the second coming of Jesus Christ. So
right.
Yeah. So I'm going to give a shout out to my friend Corey's brother. I think his name is Kyle. He recently came out as gay. I love him. And have a good day.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
What's up, Lou?
Hey, buddy. What's up?
Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. Can you hear me a little bit better now?
Yeah, you're good.
Awesome. Well, 1 second. I just wanted to, take a second to congratulate our Georgia Bulldogs for going 12-0 again, man. I think we haven't really, taken a second to realize how special that is.
13-0 this time.
Right. 13-0 this time. One, I think this is one of the greatest runs in college football. I wanted to get your opinion on that first, and then I had 2 other takes I wanted to get your opinion on.
Greatest runs in college football. Well, I'd like to have. I think you need at least one undefeated season before you can start to talk about any type of greatest run. I mean, last year was great, but that was 14-1. But you know.
No, I get what you're saying there, but
I mean, I don't know. What is Georgia now, like 35-1 in their last 36 games? I mean, we haven't lost since the middle of COVID. We haven't lost since the middle of 2020. We haven't lost since Florida game. We haven't lost since October of 2020. Well, one time. We've got one loss since October of 2020. So what is that, 4 or 5 games in 2020, 15 games last year. Okay, that's about 20. We played 13, 33. So we're like 33-1 or something in the last 34 games, something like that.
Right. I guess my next point is I do think that we beat Ohio State by 10 points soundly. I think that, it's a close game probably going into the third quarter, and we start running the ball real well. But let's say in a different world, we do lose to Ohio State. What do you think the narrative is coming into that, that next day? Or what is the story around Georgia and the overall feel of the program, would you say?
Well, I think it's going to be like the immediate reaction will be disappointment and then, okay, who's to blame? But, I mean, I don't think if Georgia loses in the first round of the playoffs, there's going to be people standing around a month later thinking the sky is falling. I mean,
right.
I certainly won't. I didn't expect to win the national title this year. I expect to win it now because of where we're at this late in the season. But I didn't come into this. I spent all off season. I didn't have Georgia ranked number 1 in the preseason. I didn't think they'd win the national title. It's hard to repeat. It's hard to win 2 in a row, whatever, yada, yada, yada. But, I mean, I want to win it now because we look like the best team and we're 2 wins away. So, yeah, I would be extremely disappointed right now if we didn't win the national title when we lost. But at some point, whether it's the middle of January or it'll be like 2017, I'll hate it when it happens, but I'll be able to look back on it at some point and say, well, that was still a pretty good season.
Right. Okay. So did you see that Will Anderson won the Nagurski trophy, I believe yesterday?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that? Because I think that's just retarded. I think Jalen, best player in college football, by a mile. And
he missed too many games. I mean, let's just be real. He just, you can't miss half the season and win awards. That's the deal with Jalen Carter. I mean, Christopher Smith was there too as a finalist. He's a good player. Do you think he's the best defensive player in all of college football? Because I love Christopher Smith. I think he's going to be an NFL player. He's not the best defensive player in all of college football. So these awards are just getting to be almost laughable at this point. But
I will say this. I do think Chris Smith will be the first safety taken. I don't know what round, but I don't think there's a better safety in the game.
Yeah. Well, and Georgia's developed a pretty good reputation over the last 5 or 6 years with safeties, too. Lewis Seen. What was the guy before him? I'm drawing a blank on his name now. Richard LeCount. And then J.R. Reed before that. So, almost every year Georgia's had an All-American level safety. And Malachi Starks looks like he's going to be the next on that list after Chris Smith. So, Georgia's starting to get a pretty good reputation with putting safeties into the NFL. And I like I said, I love Christopher Smith. But if you asked me to name, off the top of my head, 5 or 10 of the best defensive players in the country, I don't know that I would name Christopher Smith. But yet somehow he was one of the 3 finalists yesterday at that awards show. So I don't really know what goes on. It just a lot. Let's just be real. These people don't watch. I watch more football than most people that vote on these awards. They're not watching these games. You know who they're watching? They're watching Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, Clemson, Notre Dame, Michigan, Southern Cal. They're watching whoever's in the top 5 or 6. That's why all the award winners are in the top 5 or 6 every year.
And Lou, that is the exact reason why I've been telling everybody I believe Stetson Bennett's going to win the Heisman. I don't think that it is justified. I will say that. I think that he's had a great year, but if we're going off of numbers and what the protocol has been in the past, he probably wouldn't win it. But just the narrative around who he is as a player and the stats are good enough, I think he's going to win it, man, but we'll see.
Yeah, I do think there are some people that are voting for Stetson and kind of hoping he wins it to sort of to recognize what he's done over the last 6 years, as opposed to what the Heisman really is, which is the best individual football player in 2022. Because there's not a metric on planet Earth that you can point to show that Stetson Bennett is the best football player on planet Earth in 2022. But there's a lot of people who love the story, and why? I mean, everyone loves it. Even people who, like me, who have had issues with Stetson Bennett. It's a great story. I mean, look at what Rudy has become. The guy played 2 plays.
Rudy.
Stetson's out here winning MVPs in the national title game. So it's an amazing story, and I think that is drawing a lot of people in emotionally. But there's no legitimate football reason to vote for Stetson Bennett as the winner of the Heisman, I don't think.
Gotcha. Last thing, and then I'll let you go. And it's okay if you don't want to answer this, but if you were to give your way too early college football playoff predictions for 2024, give me maybe 2 teams you think are going to be there.
2024, that's 2 seasons away?
Oh, I guess the 23-24 season.
No, I can't do that. I mean, I can't do that. I have no
Okay.
idea. I mean, it would be the same teams that everyone. No, I can't do that. That's kind of silly. No, I have no idea.
Understood. Well, lastly, can you give me a Go Dogs?
Of course I can. All right, buddy. I appreciate you calling in. Yep. Joe DiMaggio, what's up, buddy? Thank you for hitting the PayPal link tonight to help support the show. He says, F it. Let me get a Go Dogs, too. Let's keep the Natty in the SEC. Middle finger to Ohio State. Okay, Dan. Thank you, Joe DiMaggio. Appreciate you helping to support the show, buddy. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Hey, good morning, Uncle Lou.
You there?
Are you there?
Yeah, you cut out. I hear you now.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. Well, first of all, I wanted to congratulate your nephew on becoming a Heisman finalist.
I never had a doubt.
You must be one proud uncle.
I am. I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, no, I was a little bit shocked. I mean, initial thoughts, what are they?
Thoughts about what? Him being a finalist?
It's him being a finalist.
I think it's funny that 4 people got invited instead of the usual 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's just a lot of look, I've given Stetson a hard time when he's deserved it, but it's an unbelievable story. There's no denying that. And so people pull for that. In general, I'm not talking about like Tennessee fans, of course, Hendon, I can't believe Stetson's there. It should be Hendon Hooker. I get that. But I just mean, like, in general, this is one of those stories that people can get attracted to. So I'm not surprised, really, that he got there in the end.
Yeah, it's causing a lot of controversy. A lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anybody. Well, there are some Georgia fans, but other than that, I don't think there's anybody that thinks he's one of the best 4 players in college football. Yeah. But again, we've got to remember that even though that's what the Heisman is supposed to be, it's not like this is the first year that someone's at the Heisman that's not one of the best 2 or 3 players in the country. It happens every year. Chase Young should have won the Heisman a couple of years ago, the defensive end for Ohio State. He didn't. I mean, there's almost every single year, there's people that should win the Heisman or be invited that don't even get considered. Because it's not really an award for the best player in college football. It's an award for the best offensive player on a top 5 team is really what it is. And the weird part is Stetson's not even the best offensive player on his own team. Stetson's not even the best white offensive player on his own team.
But
he's in New York, and no one will ever be able to take that away from him. I mean, in 20 years, when people look back on this year's Heisman, they're just going to list the Heisman finalists, and Stetson's going to be on that list.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I will say to that, I mean, I know, obviously the Heisman is such a stats award, and how much stats that you rack up. I will say one thing, like to his credit, another big thing about the Heisman, I don't know if you agree with me on this. It's like, how do you do in big games? And I feel like he's done the best out of all those guys in big games.
Again, I mean, is that what the Heisman is?
No, I mean, stats, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and then what's a big game? So what big games has Georgia played this year? The SEC championship game. What else? Tennessee,
Oregon.
And he played okay again. What were his stats against Tennessee? I don't even remember.
He's like 200. I think it was like 250 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Rushing.
Yeah, and that's not Heisman numbers.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, look at now. To be fair to Stetson, it is a down year across the board for quarterback numbers. The year, Joe Burrow had 50 touchdowns. Justin Field had 50 touchdowns. Them Oklahoma quarterbacks in the past had 50 touchdowns. There's no one this year with 50 touchdowns. But Stetson's got 14 touchdown passes. I mean, how many did Buck Bellew have in 1980? I should look that up. In fact, I am going to look it up. Buck Bellew. All he did was hand the ball off to Herschel Walker.
Yeah.
Let's see how many touchdown passes he had in 1980. In 1980, Buck Bellew had 11 touchdown passes, almost as many as Stetson Bennett has this year. Now, he only had 1,300 yards, but how many yards Stetson have? 32, 3,300, something like that?
Yeah, 3,300.
Past Heisman winners have had 4,500, 5,000, whatever. It's just a down year for quarterbacks across the board in terms of overall numbers.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, that just shows you, kind of what the year it's been.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's crazy, and not more crazier than Nick Saban going on Fox.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. That was so sad. That was sad to see.
I was listening to Josh Pate, and he said something really funny. He said, and I think you just said it a little while ago, he said, even Nick Saban didn't believe what he said. He said, Nick Saban had to go and take a shower after that.
It looked like a hostage video. You know what I'm talking about? I don't want to make light of it, but you see these hostage videos, and a guy, to be an American, and the Americans go, some American somewhere that's held hostage is going, the United States is the worst country on earth. They are treating me very nice here. And it's obvious he's reading off of a script, and then right off screen, there's somebody pointing a gun at his head. That's what the Nick Saban thing looked like. It looked like a hostage video that someone forced him to make.
Well, yeah, and I mean, the crazier thing is, Lou, it didn't really even end there. Like, the next day after the selection had been made, they sent Marty Smith down there to interview him.
Yeah.
And Nick Saban just talking about how he's disappointed, that his team doesn't get a chance. I'm like, y'all had 12 chances?
Yeah.
I mean, that just what other coach gets to get interviewed after they don't make the college football playoffs?
Yeah, the whole idea, the whole push over that last couple of days for Bama was just absolutely ridiculous. They didn't have a single, even Saban. The only argument Saban could make was, we lost twice, but it was close.
Yeah.
I mean, if the best thing on your resume is 2 losses, you don't need to be in there. What win did Nick Saban talk about that meant Bama deserved to be in? What win did he even none? Their best win was against an 8-4 Texas team that played without their starting quarterback. Their second best win was against Ole Miss, who lost 4 of their last 5 games. They lost to an LSU team that got blown out at home by Tennessee and then blown out by Georgia.
Yeah.
I mean, Alabama just wasn't a playoff caliber team this year. It's that simple. Begging is not going to change it.
Yeah. I mean, it just, I never thought I'd see the day where Nick Saban would do something like that. I just never thought I would see the day.
When you're 4'5", it's easy to stoop low. Thank you for the call. No good. Thank you for the super chat. He says, Todd Monken got Stetson in the Heisman race. Can't wait until he has an elite QB. Go Dogs. Yeah, I think Todd Monken is I said earlier, if Stetson were to win the Heisman, he should give it to Todd Monken. I think Todd Monken's an absolute genius. The production that he's getting out of these people on offense is unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Todd Monken's probably the most important single piece of this team offensively. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Luke.
What up, sir?
What's up, buddy?
All right. So I'm just going to cut straight to the chase. Georgia 42, Ohio State 17. The reason for that is Ohio State fans, you cannot give me one matchup that would prove to me that I should be confident you're winning. The reality is you're soft emotionally, mentally, and physically, and you're gonna sell half your soul to Georgia 4 weeks from now. The other half's been going to Michigan the past 2 years. CJ Stroud is gonna be in the dirt with Jalen Carter holding up that number 1 side, so the Wikipedia is going to have to change C.J. Stroud to be the son of Jalen Carter. So have fun, knowing that you're emotionally, mentally, and physically soft. Have a great day.
All right, buddy. Appreciate you coming on. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Morning, Uncle Lou.
What's up?
That guy might have been a little delusional there, but
he's not even a Georgia fan.
I know. Hey, anyway, I spoke to you on this show Thursday, and like I said, we ain't got no problem beating LSU. Wasn't an issue there.
You were right.
Now, one thing I didn't like, though, I don't like. I guess I'll just say I'm kind of interested when this 12-team playoff thing kicks off, man, because this whole past weekend was just crazy.
Yeah.
You know, you had. I mean, I was thinking TCU and USC. I was thinking maybe USC was going to stay in there, and we was going to get USC or something like that. But man, they both lost. Like what? And I was just like, okay, well, as long as Bama don't get in, that's all I care about. I don't care. But yeah. Anyway, the Stetson Bennett getting the Heisman invite, at least, I like that. But anyway, what do you think? Do you think it's a big advantage having? I think it is, but do you think the crowd will definitely hinder in Atlanta over the Ohio State game? Interrupt them?
Maybe a little, but these neutral site games, you got it, because you have to remember, because it's probably going to be, I don't know, 70-30 Georgia fans. There's going to be a lot of Ohio State fans there. There's going to be more Georgia fans, but there's not going to be a student section with 15 or 20,000 students. These neutral site games are never the same environment as a game on campus. The tickets are prohibitively expensive. In general, the people that can afford to go to these games are a little older crowd and not quite as loud and as you would see at like a home game in the middle of the season. But I do think it's an advantage, obviously, for Georgia to be playing an hour and a half up the road as opposed to having to fly halfway across the country.
True. What you think we get past Ohio State, it's going to be Georgia, Michigan?
I don't know. A lot of people are just penciling in Michigan for the win, and I do think they're the better team. And I think Georgia would beat either one of them. But it's just fun to root for TCU. They're just a fun team to watch. Now, I wouldn't be rooting for them if Georgia was playing them, but like Max Duggan, like you have to kill that guy to get him off the field. I mean, watching him is unbelievable. TCU is just a fun team to watch. And I don't know. I feel like Michigan probably wins the game, but I think it's going to be closer than some people are thinking it will.
Against TCU?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it will. I'm very interested to say it, but all right, well, I'll end that with Go Dogs, and who's that coming down the track?
All right, buddy. I appreciate you coming on.
You played the Rocky Talk last time. You messed up. You hit that.
There you go. All right, buddy. Talk to you next time. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Yeah, I wanted to debate a little bit with you about some strategy for coaching.
All right.
In the playoffs. With Michigan and Georgia, I'm a big Michigan fan, by the way. And why wouldn't Kirby Smart and Jim Harbaugh take the approach they knew they were in, either way, the way the playoffs were going? Rest the players and take the loss. Do the way the NFL goes at the game 16, 17. Why show more film, number one? And number two, why even risk one of your star players getting hurt? Like, look at what happened with Caleb Williams.
Right.
I know USC was not in that shape. They had to win or get in. But when you're the top two and you're 13-0, why not take that approach?
Why did Michigan starters play the first 3 weeks of the season? Y'all played 3 middle school teams.
That's true. And they had to win those games to get in. I'm saying in the playoffs, Georgia and Michigan could have taken that approach. Why show more film, number one? And number two, why risk getting your star players hurt?
Well, number one, winning a conference title still means something to most people. Number two, seeding matters. So Georgia wanted to play in the Peach Bowl, not the Fiesta Bowl. Number three, football players play football.
That's true, but from a coaching standpoint, you're looking at the bigger picture. Do you agree?
No, I disagree wholeheartedly. There's not a coach in college football that's ever going to purposely lose a game. It's not going to happen.
So you don't think they're going to even look at that in the 12-game playoff if you're already a top seed? You're looking for longevity in the playoffs. You don't think that's
You're not going to be a top seed if you lose. You have to win your conference to get a bye.
No, I'm saying later on, if you're so far high up.
It doesn't matter how high up you are. If you lose your conference championship game, you're not getting a bye. You have to be a conference champion to get a bye.
But in this scenario, they could have. They were in. Either
but there's still an advantage to winning because you get to play where you want to play instead of traveling to Phoenix.
Okay.
That's why they have these things in place. Because seeding matters.
Then the second question I had, have you been following any of the Michigan transfers as far as McNamara and Eric Hall?
I know McNamara is going to Iowa, which is a perfect fit because it's two people that don't know anything about offense, McNamara and Iowa.
What did you think about Eric Hall?
I don't even know who that is.
The tight end?
I don't know who that is. Never heard of him.
Okay. Yeah, he surprisingly decided to transfer, which took a lot of people by surprise.
Does he play?
Yeah, he did a really good job last year. He was one of our.
I'm talking about this year.
He played just a little bit and then he was out.
Well, that's why he's transferring. Must be somebody better there.
That's what my thoughts were. They've got a freshman that's.
I mean, if you're telling me a starter for Michigan is transferring instead of playing in the playoffs, then I'm shocked. If you're telling me somebody who can't get on the field is transferring, I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah, he couldn't play this year.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I had was what I think is going to happen with the Ohio State-Georgia game. I think Georgia will wear on them, but I think Ohio State will come out with the shock and awe and hope that that's going to go their way. I think they'll come out hot as can be, but they can't go the longevity, and that showed in the Michigan game. They just don't have the longevity to go 4 rounds. They may go 2 rounds, but then I think Georgia will get them in the end.
Yeah, I think you're right because I think Ohio State has to get a lead and keep it because we don't know. I don't really think Georgia could play from behind very well, especially if you're talking about a couple of scores. But if Georgia gets ahead a couple of scores, the game's over because Kirby's just going to play hide and seek, and it won't be anything Ohio State can do. I mean, we'll run the ball, and every drive will be 8 minutes long, and the game will be over at halftime.
Yeah, being a big Michigan fan, I even look at the realistic part of it. You look at how the Illinois game went with Michigan, and then you look at that Maryland game. I really don't think that the Big Ten has the strength overall. It's just they've played within that league. The Big Ten's down this year, if you want to be honest about it.
Yeah, well, only 3 teams I think finished the season ranked in the Big Ten. Now, a big part of that is the West dragging the Big Ten down as a whole. The East, I think, is a legitimate conference with those 3 top 10 teams, and even Maryland, I think, is. I think Maryland Maryland might be one of the best 25 teams in the country, but they play in the Big Ten East, so they just caught too many losses. But the Big Ten West is just horrible. I mean, it's horrific. So it drags the conference down as a whole. But yeah, I don't think the Big Ten was as good overall this year as it has been the last couple of years. But you can say the same thing about the SEC because the West was such a disaster this year.
True. All right. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, buddy. Good to hear from you, man. Thanks for taking the time to come on. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good.
I'm a Michigan fan too, and unlike him, I watched the game. Ohio State have a stout run defense. I think they held us to like 7 or like 10 yards in the first half. The only reason that we started rushing like real good is because he started throwing those deep bombs and they started catching them. So they had to back their defense up. But other than that, Ohio State got size and they got a good rush defense. So if Georgia try to do what you said, they might get stopped a couple drives. Not the whole game, but they might get stopped a couple drives.
Yeah, I disagree. Ohio State's given up 300 yards rushing in the last 3 games they've lost. They have a hard time against physical teams that run the ball. Northwestern, Michigan twice, Oregon last year.
They held us though. They held us.
Yeah, they held you to 300 yards rushing. They held you to 300 yards rushing.
That's in the second half off of like 3 plays.
Yeah, a football is 2 halves long.
You're right.
If it's only 1 half long, then Georgia won the national title in 2017. But we know that's not the case.
Right.
Bama won it.
You're right. So I just feel like Ohio State probably going to win, probably going to beat Georgia. And then Michigan is going to beat Ohio State in the national championship. That's my predictions because Ohio State, they got the talent. Like they're more talented than Michigan. Like team, that thing you be talking about where you be saying like team ranking talent-wise.
But they're not more talented than Georgia, though.
No, but they're more talented than any team in the Big Ten. So if anybody will give Michigan a chance to beat Georgia, I'm a Michigan fan though. But if anybody will give Michigan a chance to beat Georgia, then Ohio State have a chance too.
Yeah, well, everybody's got a chance. TCU got a chance to beat Michigan.
Oh no, Duggan's gonna get put in the dirt on top of his neck.
All right.
Yeah, Duggan's gonna get thrashed. Michigan's going to dominate. Georgia and Ohio State going to come down to last possession. Then Michigan's going to dominate the winner of that game. Yeah, that's how that's going to go.
Well, there's nothing wrong with being wrong. Thank you for your call, sir. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Hey, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Then I can hear you.
All right, so I'm gonna just be quick. Just a couple things. You still hear me, right? All right, never mind. Okay, so all right, so the first thing I wanted to mention was, I grew up like a Clemson fan, but like I ended up going to the University of South Carolina because I'm from Columbia.
Right.
So like it's been a weird transition trying to fuck with the Gamecocks.
Yeah.
But one of the weird parts of it is like I try to root for the team obviously because I don't want to be like, hating. But the issue is sometimes I feel like fans get kind of unrealistic because we've had a lot of big like wins like Tennessee to Clemson, but a lot of people I feel like here are kind of taking it. I mean, I understand to be excited, but they're taking it a little bit overboard. And people need to be realistic that we're just kind of like a above average to good program. Like we're not surging towards some type of playoff contenders or some shit.
Who, Carolina?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's 100% true. They're nowhere near a playoff caliber team.
Yeah, that's definitely something I noticed. At least with Clemson, yeah, there's another thing like with the Clemson versus Tennessee. It's like the who lost the USC Bowl, which like I kind of cringe at it because I kind of want to be in a position where we can go to a bowl game like the Orange Bowl, but like people don't understand how much gravity that is. But
anyway, that would be a huge deal for South Carolina. They've never made. I mean, the biggest bowl they've ever played in is the Outback Bowl.
Yeah, the biggest. Yeah, they haven't even made. They didn't even make BCS
or the Citrus Bowl or whatever it was under Steve Spurrier. I mean, they've never made a BCS or a New Year's Six bowl.
Yeah, basically. But what do you think about them playing Notre Dame in the Gator Bowl? What you think?
I think it's gonna be a good game. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a really good game. I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I feel about the 12-team playoff is like I feel like it should be 2 rounds of home and away instead of like the 4 bowls and then the 2 bowls. Like, what do you think about that?
I wouldn't disagree with it if that's what they decided to do, but I'm also okay with the way they did it now. So I look at it as a Georgia fan. If Georgia gets, wins the conference and gets one of those top 4 seeds, I'd love to have an extra week off to rest guys and, an extra week of preparation and stuff like that. But then in the years that maybe we don't, and you wind up in that 5 to 8 spot, that's going to be some of the most exciting football games we've ever seen in the history of college football, is when these 5 through 8 teams start hosting playoff games. I would love to see a playoff game at Sanford Stadium.
That's gonna be.
It won't hurt my feelings that first time Georgia ends up ranked 5 through 8. I think I still would prefer a bye week. If I had to choose one, I would prefer a bye week over a home game. But it's not going to hurt my feelings whenever the first time Georgia ends up ranked 5 through 8 there and gets to host a playoff game. I think that's going to be some amazing atmospheres the first few years we get to see that. Yep. Thank you for the call in that. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou. You want me to play the Jeopardy music for you? Is now a bad time for you, Omar? Cat got your tongue? Omar. Breathe into the mic if you're alive. All right. Rest in peace, buddy. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
What's up, Uncle Lou? How are you?
Hey, I'm good, bud.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
How about this transfer portal?
Crazy. Ain't going to get crazier.
Yeah, did you see that Georgia already offered 2 guys out of the portal?
Yeah.
2 wide receivers, one from one from Mississippi State and one from Kent State?
Yes.
What do you think of the Ohio State star receiver not playing, whatever his name is?
Jackson Smith-Njigba. I was kind of kidding around about it earlier. If he's really injured, I hate it for him. And I know he's really injured. He hadn't played all year. It's a hamstring. I don't know. Since like week 2, seems like maybe he could have got back by now. I don't want to imagine a world where college football players are choosing not to play in a playoff game. I don't want to imagine that world existing. And I hope that's not the case here. And I don't have any reason to think that it is. He's been injured all year. Now, we know Bosa, or whatever his name was, for Ohio State, he did choose to sit out even though he was healthy a couple of years ago or whatever and tried to blame it on an injury. So I don't think that's what's going on here. But, I mean, as far as is it going to affect Ohio State? No, they've been playing without him since week 2. So it's the same Ohio State. We're going to see the same Ohio State team we've seen every week of the season. Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Ibuka. I mean, these guys are more than capable of catching passes.
Will McConkey be able to play? I haven't heard much on his injury. I know he got hurt in this.
Yeah, you're not going to hear anything. And even if you do hear anything, can you really believe it? If it comes from Georgia, you can't. I mean,
I just heard Kirby said after the game that he just kind of bruised it or re-aggravated.
Yeah, but Kirby's a liar.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, Kirby said when A.D. Mitchell left the game in week 2, in the post-game press conference, Kirby said A.D. Mitchell's fine. He could have gone back in. We just elected to keep him out. And then he didn't play again until the SEC title game, 9-10 weeks later. So I don't believe anything Kirby Smart tells me about injuries. As far as whether Ladd McConkey is playing or not, I'll believe it when we line up and take the first snap and he's either out there or he's not.
I just hope he plays.
Yeah, I do too.
Part of our receiving group.
Yeah, I don't know who Stetson's going to stare down if McConkey doesn't play.
I think Dominic Blaylock started playing well towards the end of the SEC championship on those third downs.
Yeah. He started playing well in 2018, but for whatever reason, he can't get on the field now, so it's weird.
Well, he's just been hurt. I'm just saying he's kind of showed shades of his freshman year.
Yeah.
Him starting to come back from that 2 ACL injuries, but he's shown that he can start to step up. You know, if Georgia has most of their receivers stay next year, there's no doubt this could be a really good receiving core next year. But I don't know if Vlad will declare, because I thought he was a sophomore. Then I look again, it says he's a redshirt sophomore. So they're saying he might declare for the draft, but who knows? But Marcus Rosenby-Jack Saint, I mean, there's no reason why he shouldn't stay another year. He hasn't really been stellar to go declare for the draft.
I don't think there's any NFL wide receivers on Georgia's roster. Do you?
I mean, besides, they said that Darnell Washington's the top 3 tight end prospect.
Well, tight ends, yeah. I'm talking wide receivers. You think Ladd McConkey's going to play in the NFL?
I'm just saying he's had over close to 700 receiving yards, and he's second all-team in the SEC.
Yeah, but do you think he's going to play in the NFL? I said.
Maybe. Probably stay another year, but I think he's good enough if you give him another year.
Well, we'll see. I hope he comes back because we don't have any wide receivers. We can't get any. These 2 in the portal, I don't know what they're thinking. I doubt they'd come here. I wouldn't go to Georgia if I was a wide receiver. I wouldn't go anywhere near Athens if I was a wide receiver.
That's one thing that worries me too, man, is like, I know we have a couple wide receiver commits, but I want to be like one of these teams like USC or Ohio State and go get the big-time wide receiver recruits. But I know you also said it depends on the quarterback, like Burton transferring because Stetson Bennett was throwing the ball. But he wanted to go play with Bryce Young, a Heisman Trophy winner. But I guess you also
Well, and people want to clown Burton, but here's what people don't realize. Believe it or not, these players are not fans like we are. They're players. Yeah, Jermaine Burton went to Alabama because you have a better opportunity as a wide receiver if you play for Alabama than you do for Georgia. And guess what? Jermaine Burton had more yards receiving this year than any year ever at Georgia.
Yeah, that's
so true. Is Alabama in the playoffs? No. Is that why Jermaine Burton went to Alabama? No.
He went there to prove his draft stock.
These recruits and these players are not fans. We're fans. They don't make decisions because they're a fan. They make decisions because it affects their future. So, now it didn't work out like Burton wanted. Turns out he's just not a great wide receiver. But he still had a better year at Alabama and a down year there than any year he ever had at UGA.
Yeah, that's true.
In terms of yards.
With the playoff, with Ohio State coming up, does it really can show you any concerns about their teams, maybe besides C.J. Stroud and that group of receivers? Like, does anything particularly scare you about Ohio State, but just besides maybe their offense?
Well, they get both their running backs should be back healthy too. They've got good running backs. Now, I don't think they're going to be able to consistently run the ball on Georgia. Nobody has consistently ran the ball on Georgia in 5 years. Not Alabama, not anybody. You just go down the list. Not Michigan last year ran the ball all over everybody. They averaged 1.9 yards per carry against Georgia. No one runs the ball on Georgia. That doesn't mean one of those 2 running backs can't break a run though. They're not going to be able to consistently run it. The worry, I think, if you're a Georgia fan about the Ohio State game would be if C.J. Stroud gets hot.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. They got some receivers, but Keely Ringo got burnt in the SEC championship. Like LSU had over 2 guys have 100 yards receiving, but they're also put backups in the second half. And just try to
I think you'll see a similar defensive plan against Ohio State that we played against Tennessee in the first half.
Yeah, just
press man coverage on the outside. If we get beat, we get beat. But C.J. Stroud's going to have about 2 seconds to make a decision, or his dick's going to be in the dirt. And I don't care how good of a quarterback you are, it is hard to play at a high level when you're running for your life. And that'll be the game plan. Will it work? Yeah, I have no idea. But when Georgia's sacks aren't where they were last year, but in the games where Georgia has needed a pass rush, they've had no problem getting one. So, the Florida game was the first example of that. The Tennessee game after that was another example of that. But if they let C.J. Stroud sit in the pocket the way they let Nussmeier sit in the pocket this past Saturday, Ohio State will put up 50 points. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm just saying, with the way our offense played versus LSU, I'm just saying if we were to have to get in a situation, I feel like we'd be pretty confident in our offense to go match the scoreboard if we had to.
Yeah.
But that was just depends if Ohio State might get lucky, get a couple stops there. And
matching score for score with C.J. Stroud and 3 NFL wide receivers is not the same as matching score for score with Jaden Daniels or Nussmeier, a guy playing his first ever game.
Yeah.
I mean,
but I just know Ohio State necessarily doesn't have the best defense.
That's true. You know, you're true about that's true.
But
Their lines of scrimmage are a problem for them.
Yeah,
and it will be a problem in this game.
I just wouldn't be worried if we had to go match score to score because they necessarily don't have the best defense.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I got, Uncle Lou.
All right, buddy.
Good talking to you.
Yeah, man.
See you next time.
Sounds good. Appreciate you coming on. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Uncle Lou, how you doing?
Doing good.
All right. I want to talk about the Big Ten and TCU, but first of all, I want to ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if this is a rumor. Is it true that Caleb Williams painted his fingernails?
Yes.
Like
he always does.
F-U?
He painted "fuck Utah" on his fingernails.
Is that the reason why he had blood on his pants during the game and the camera was zooming in on it? Because he was wiping his hands?
No, that was blood on his pants because his finger was cut.
Well, the rumor, it's kind of rumored that, he was wiping his hands on his pants because somebody stepped on him or something.
I don't know. I know his finger was cut. I don't know how it happened, but I know his finger was cut.
His finger was cut. Yeah. Okay. With that said, is there integrity with the Heisman Trophy nowadays?
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, he paints his fingernails, "fuck Utah."
So what do you mean? He shouldn't get Heisman votes? Is that what you're saying? Because of that?
I think it's pretty disgusting. I mean, I think that's really, really, I mean, we're talking about integrity here of the sport. If you're going to put something like that on your hands to prove a point that, you know what, screw you, but, we're all supposed to be one, right? I mean, as Dion, as a sport, as people, as players, as basically everything. I mean, it's everything. It's against everything that you were told in high school when you played high school football. I mean, seriously, if he's actually a candidate after he's done that, I mean, that's bad. That really is bad. And I hope that the voters that vote take that into consideration. I really do. Next thing, the Big Ten. Luke Fickell's going to Wisconsin. The quarterback, what's his last name? Mentz, M-E-N-T-Z or something like that.
For who?
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Why would you have Luke Fickell come in and then you're as a quarterback, the starting quarterback, going to the transfer portal? I don't know if I can answer that. I don't know if you can answer that. Maybe none of us know, but why would you do that?
Lots of players transfer when there's a coaching change.
So he's not going, okay, look, I'm the starting quarterback here, and I'm going to prove to you, sir, that, I can get the job done. You show me the way, I can do it. Okay? It's unlike Dion. Dion went out there and said, everybody's out of here. We're gone.
Yeah.
But this guy, he I guess he doesn't have enough, confidence in himself to where that he could be on Mr. Fickell's level. So,
I guess, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could say that about everybody that's ever transferred. Quinn Ewers didn't have any confidence that he'd ever start at Ohio State, so he transferred to Texas, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Everybody that's ever transferred
there you go.
is just a quitter and a loser.
Pick up him?
I guess that's...
If he doesn't have that much confidence in himself, who's going to pick him up? Okay, I sure wouldn't pick him up. So, with that said...
you ever changed jobs, or have you had the same job since you were 16?
Well, I think this whole NIL thing's getting out of hand, Luke. I think it's getting way out of hand.
But I said, have you ever changed jobs?
Yes, I have.
Is it because you knew you couldn't do the job you had?
No, it's probably because of financial reasons and
there you go. There you go. There you go.
Territorial reasons.
There you go. Better opportunity somewhere else, right? There
As
you
far
go.
as
Money, whatever else, whatever the motivation
well, he's
was.
he's not that good though, at least in my opinion. Well, let's switch over to Ohio State. I heard not long ago that the wide receiver coach for Ohio State, Brian Hartline, actually was interviewed for the Cincinnati job, and he turned it down. And I think that Ohio State's probably going to make him the offensive coordinator. I think it was Keith Wilson that was offensive coordinator. He went somewhere else or something like that. So my whole point here is that the Big Ten it's actually looking up. You got the quarterback from Michigan, McNamara, going down to Iowa. So, maybe the West and the Big Ten starting to look up. I'm not a Big Ten fan, but I sure would love to see those guys do something,
Who, Iowa?
So, who, Iowa? Lou, come on, man. We know. Yeah, Iowa, Okay. They have their ups and downs. Let's say that, all right?
Yeah.
But, I think, the West and the Big Ten is going to, I think they're going to look up next year. They're on the uptrend for sure.
Nowhere to go but up
So,
in the Big Ten West.
You're right about that. I mean,
an
Nebraska,
absolute
they got Matt Rule. So, maybe he can do something over there. And, and another year after next year, you're going to have UCLA and USC come over. So, I like to see competition. I mean, the Big Ten, it's just crap. Ohio State's going to get walked by Georgia. And I will say this, Michigan is going to stomp the shit out of USC. I mean, USC. TCU. I'm getting tongue-tied here.
All right.
So, I'm a guy from Texas. TCU is not far down the road from here. But TCU is just they recruit 3 stars. I don't even think they have a 5-star on their team, okay? But they're well coached. That's what makes them so interesting, so beautiful, so great, because they're just a 3-star team and they can get the job done, and they've done it for years, especially with Gary Patterson. And but when you get to the level that they're at now, Max Duggan, he's going to do a lot more crime. And I hate to say it, but he's going to do a lot more crime. And my prediction on that game is going to be 52 to either 17 or 52 to 24.
Damn, a blowout.
And I don't want to go into the Alabama thing because I think that there's other teams that can be better in the playoffs than TCU. Tennessee, I think even Kansas State would do better in the playoffs, even though they've lost 3 games. This can kind of go on, but TCU is going to get stomped. They're good to a certain point, but they're not an elite team. They really have no running game. Miller's okay. They have one guy that can catch the ball. Michigan is going to eat that offense alive. That defense alive as far as their offense. And, Edwards is unbelievable. So, and I'm going to keep rambling here for just a second. Edwards, in my opinion, is a better running back than Corum all day long. When Edwards gets going, he can gallop. People can't see Corum when he's behind the line. I mean, he's just hitting. He's like Barry Sanders or Deuce from Kansas State. So, I'm rambling on here now. So that's all I wanted to say. And what is that background you're playing, man?
I don't hear it.
Okay.
All right, buddy. Appreciate you calling in.
Be cool.
All right, we'll talk to you next time.
No, this is the last time, right? This is it. This is it. This is not fun. Okay, if you guys are gonna keep that up, I want you to go far, far away. Go. No. Keep on going.
Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Hey, Lou. Greetings from Savannah, and congrats to the Bulldogs on another great season. I think they're going to win it all.
All right, good.
Kind of piggybacking off the last caller, what do you think of this rule hire? I'm a Nebraska fan. Brother played there. I think it's pretty good. I know you'll probably do a video in the next couple of days on it. Do you think we're in for the Matt Rule experience, another 3 or 4 year rebuild till we start seeing significant progress, or is this going to be quicker than what he had at Baylor or Temple?
I do like Matt Rule as a coach, but I think Nebraska fans have to be patient. I mean, a lot of older Nebraska fans are, it's kind of the Miami fan syndrome where you wake up every morning thinking it's the 90s. It's not. And I feel like I did the Wisconsin one today. I feel like Wisconsin is in better shape to have a good season immediately with a good coach than Nebraska is. But I do think Matt Rule is a good coach, and I think he can get Nebraska. I mean, I don't know that Nebraska will ever be a national power in football again, but Nebraska should be at the minimum making a bowl game. I mean, anything else less than that is unacceptable, but I think Nebraska fans have to have some patience. It's hard to recruit to Nebraska. Joining the Big Ten, I think, hurt Nebraska a little bit in terms of recruiting. It helps them financially, and they're in a much more stable conference now, making a lot more money than they would have been had they stayed in the Big 12. But it seems like they kind of lost their recruiting pipeline to Texas and Oklahoma when they made the move to the Big 10. I don't know if that's true or it's just the fact that, they're not as good, so they're not able to recruit as well. I don't know, but it seems like at least a 2 or 3 year turnaround before Nebraska would be anything close to, competing for a division title or a Big 10 title to me.
No, I agree, and I think a lot of the older fans kind of got brought down to earth with the Riley and the Frost experience, which I don't think anybody really thought it would get even worse under Frost. But I think the general buzz around the Husker fan base right now is, look, let's take our baby steps. Let's get back to bowl games, and then we can start talking about improving to worry about the West, which probably isn't going to exist in a couple of years. And then if things are still going well, maybe we can start setting our sights on a Big Ten championship. But I agree with you. I would love to see Nebraska back at the top. I'm not saying it can't happen, but yeah, the odds are stacked against them. One thing I will say is they do have some very, very rich boosters who will pump up those NIL deals to bring people in.
Yeah.
So they're behind, but it's not like they can't catch up.
Yeah. NIL and the transfer portal makes it at least possible that almost anything can be turned around a lot quicker than what it used to would take. I mean, because it wasn't that long ago, 5-10 years ago, if you took over a situation like Nebraska 5 or 10 years ago, you were looking at a minimum of a 4-year turnaround. because you needed 4 good recruiting classes for a coach to get his guys in there, increase the talent level, increase the depth, that kind of thing. The transfer portal in particular makes it easier to do that now quicker. I mean, Southern Cal is like the poster child for this now. I mean, they were horrific last year. This year, they're 1 game away from the playoffs. So anything's possible, but I feel like Southern Cal, even though they were bad last year, is still considered like a pretty good destination for recruits and transfers, whereas Nebraska, I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
At least right now. Now, that can be changed, but Nebraska's going to have some good seasons.
Yeah. It's going to take a few years. I do think Rule's a good coach, but
yeah, I do too.
They're behind the 8 ball. And,
yeah.
I know everybody got slammed with portal transfers, but it ain't looking good right now. So
right.
Just got to be patient. Thanks so much. Best of luck to Dogs.
All right, buddy. Appreciate you coming on. Good to hear from you. Let's see. Let's get caught up here. Stetson Bennett's mouthpiece says, my question is, when can we replace Keely Ringo with Nyland Green? Keely couldn't cover Helen Keller on a basketball court. Never. I have 2 answers, a real one and a troll one for the Stetson Bennett people. Why would we replace Keely Ringo when we're undefeated? That doesn't make any sense to me. That's the troll answer. Why would we take Keely Ringo out when we're undefeated? We won a national championship last year with Keely Ringo. Why would we consider for any reason taking him out? That's the troll answer. The real answer is Keely Ringo is a top 10 NFL draft pick in 5 months and is probably the first corner taken. He had a bad game. There's no question. But but there's a 0% chance he's getting benched. That's the real answer. Berto, thank you for the super chat. He says, I'm sorry that happened to you. This should get you a few more bottles of bleach for next time. Thank you, Berto. Neon Knight Rider, thank you for the super chat. He says, fuck Utah. Damn. No love for Utah. Kyle Dominique, thank you for the super chat. He says, I'm losing brain cells listening to these people. Hey, come on now. Come on now. I'm the only one that's allowed to talk down to callers. Oh, boy. All right, let's try it again. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Hey, what's up, Lou? Nick, how you doing, bro?
Hey, bud, I'm good.
I got a couple of questions for you. First of all, well, go Dogs.
Yes, sir.
What do you think of Deion Sanders' press conference and when he was introduced to the team?
I didn't like it.
You don't like it?
No.
So do you, I'm pretty sure you know. So it's a done deal that Travis Hunter is coming.
I assumed that. I didn't know it was official, but yeah, I assumed that.
I think he'll do okay. I think he'll at least get him to a bowl game. I just don't think.
I disagree. I don't think they'll make a bowl game.
I just don't think he'll do what USC did this year.
No,
that's not.
But
happening.
look, he's inheriting a 1-win team. I mean, Southern Cal was bad last year, but they were a 5-win team. That's a big difference between 1 win and 5 wins. I don't even think Deion's making a bowl game next year. They're starting 0-1. That I can tell you. They're starting 0-1. They play TCU week 1. They're not winning that game. I don't care who comes back or stays or goes or transfers or recruiting classes. They're starting 0-1. And I don't know who they play in the regular season. It doesn't matter. They're not making a bowl game next year.
You know, it's funny, but they don't even have the money to pay him. That's
yeah, they don't have the money to pay Deion. Yeah, they said they'll figure it out. They'll come up with it somewhere down the road. I mean, I don't blame Colorado for hiring him. They're the worst team in the Power 5. And if nothing else, this is going to bring attention to Colorado, which I'm sure they can figure out a way to make money off of. First of all, I'm not convinced Deion Sanders is a great coach. I love Deion. I grew up, I told this story earlier, but I grew up watching Deion Sanders fly a helicopter from the Braves field to the Falcons field and play football games in the same day and all this kind of. I love Deion Sanders. But I'm not convinced he's a great football coach. I didn't like his entire whatever that performance, because everything he does is a performance. I mean, they film everything they do. It's every, so he's constantly performing for the camera. But I didn't like that. I mean, he goes in, he meets with the players, they're filming it. He points at the quarterback and he says, you might as well transfer. I brought my son with me. Well, I mean, I don't like that. I don't, there's an injured guy on the front row. He's like, if you're injured, we don't need you. You can't help us if you're injured. Get out, basically. You need to transfer. I don't know.
And everybody's like, well, he's going to do so good. Like, dude, I'm gonna get this trivia, y'all. There is a huge difference from HBCU to Power 5.
Yeah. Yeah. I still think it's weird that he spent 3 years telling high school recruits not to go to the FBS. Don't go to the FBS. Come here. Don't go to the FBS. Come to an HBCU. And then the first chance he got, he left an HBCU and went to the FBS. I just think that I don't blame him. They're paying him, so I mean, I'm not blaming him for basically transferring from an HBCU to an FBS school. I'm not blaming him at all. He'd make a lot more money. I just think it's weird that his whole spiel while he was at the HBCU was to tell high school players, you don't need to go to the FBS. You can come here and do everything you need to do. But then the first chance he got out.
Yeah, he left.
It's just a little strange to me.
Yeah, another thing, Lou. What's your take on JT Daniels and Keaton Slovis leaving again?
I was more surprised by Keaton Slovis leaving than I was JT Daniels, but nothing really surprises me when it comes to transfers anymore.
Cause ain't this like JT's fourth school?
Let's see, Southern Cal, Georgia, West Virginia. Yeah. So this will be the third time he's transferred. So he's now transferred more times than Stetson Bennett. The Stetson Bennett's transferred twice.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, now JT has transferred 3 times.
That's crazy.
But he got benched. What's he going to do? He's got 1 year of eligibility left. He doesn't want to ride the bench, I guess, so he's going to try to find somewhere he can play. Thank you for the call. It's good to hear from you. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
Doing good.
Hey, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Sorry. I know last time I called, it was a bit of a connection error, so I do apologize about that.
What'd you say? I can't hear you.
Well, first I want to say Deion Sanders is kind of an asshole in person.
Well, he is cocky and arrogant. I don't have a problem with that, though. I don't have a problem with that, but he's definitely cocky. Yeah.
Well, when you live in the DFW area and he's like shrugging off people with disabilities, it's bad look. But you wouldn't know that, so. Secondly, I wanted to ask you your opinion on TCU's decision to go for the 4th and 1. I do apologize. I've been out of work for 3 months. I just started back, so I haven't been able to.
I think it was the wrong decision. I mean, it's easy to say that after the fact, looking back, but I thought it was wrong at the time. I mean, I think in overtime, when you get the ball first, you cannot come away with 0 points, no matter what. You have got to score something. And if that's a field goal, that's a field goal. And then you send your defense out there and you put it in your defense's hands. Don't let them score a touchdown. I think that was the wrong decision to go for it in overtime.
No, I agree. First time when I saw that, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. But the more I thought about it, I mean, I've got an hypothesis that I don't necessarily think he was trying to win the game.
Well, he couldn't win the game. Even if that's the thing. The risk far outweighed the reward. The reward is nothing. There is no reward. If you get it, the other team gets the ball. If you don't get it, the other team gets the ball. The outcome was going to be the same whether you got it. There was no reward. It was 100% risk. It made no sense. I think it was the wrong decision.
Well,
I mean, even if he gets it, Kansas State still gets the ball with a chance to either tie or go for 2 and win, whatever they want to do.
No, I mean, I
Instead,
was
he
agreeing.
didn't get it. All Kansas State has to do is line up and kick a field goal, game over.
Yeah. Well, just the more I thought about it, it didn't make any sense, and I was trying to wrap my head around it, trying to make it make sense. And I kind of came up with an hypothesis. It may not be true, but I think he was just trying to end the game as quickly as possible to try to
But that
avoid
wouldn't have ended the game. Scoring there does not end the game.
Exactly. I thought it was subtle, and he tried to end the game as quickly as possible without making it obvious.
That doesn't end the game.
No, but it
Whether he
increases
makes it or not, the game continues.
No, I agree.
You
I think
understand the overtime rules, right?
Yeah, I
If
do.
he scores a touchdown there, or a field goal, or throws an interception, or fumbles, or goes for it on fourth and it doesn't matter what he does in that drive, the other team still gets the ball.
No, I agree.
Right.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around it, trying to make it make sense.
It doesn't make sense. Stop trying to do that. It doesn't make sense. So that's why you're having such a hard time wrapping your head around it, because it doesn't make any sense.
Sorry, I overthink things a little bit. But
yeah,
no,
so does Sonny Dykes.
But no, I just want to get your opinion on that. That was going to be the main thing on my call. Also, I wanted to apologize for 2 months ago for asking you an asinine question about Texas being a 2-loss team making the playoffs. I do apologize about that. That was asinine.
Well, it would have been a different scenario for Texas than it was for Bama. Texas, had they lost 2 games and one was to Bama, still could have played for their conference title game and had a chance to be 11-2 with a conference title. Whereas Bama didn't have that opportunity. They were 10-2, so it would have been a little bit different. But they still wouldn't have got in if everything else would have been the same. They still would have been behind, TCU and Ohio State.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I just want to apologize for asking that asinine question.
Yeah, that's okay. People do it all the time. It's no big deal. That's why
All right,
I'm
Lou,
here.
well, I appreciate you taking my call. The main thing I wanted to ask about the TCU decision, and you answered my question thoroughly, so thank you, man.
All right, Swaggy man. Take it easy, buddy. We'll talk to you next time. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
What's up, Lou?
Hey, bud. Can you hear me, by the way?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
What do you think the quarterback situation is going to be next year at Georgia?
I think it's going to be Carson Beck and Gunnar Stockton.
Gunnar Stockton, okay. Do you think Brock will transfer?
Yeah, I mean, gun to my head right now, yeah, that would be my guess.
Okay.
Or maybe he
Also,
stays. He's from Athens. Maybe he just likes it there, but I don't know that he's ever going to start at Georgia. But I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
All I can go off of is what I see when I watch the games. And right now, Carson Beck is the 2. And I hear more things about Gunnar Stockton than I do Brock Vandergrift, but that doesn't really mean anything. I'm purely just guessing on that. I thought one of them would transfer before this year. I'm surprised Carson or Brock didn't transfer this season. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame him. You were one of the best high school quarterbacks in the country, and you're sitting on the bench, so I definitely wouldn't blame them.
Yeah, well, look at Carson Beck. He's been sitting there for 3 years. Won Gatorade High School Player of the Year in Florida. Can't get on the field. He's got more patience. Carson Beck's got more football patience than I do call-in show patience, and that's saying something.
Also, what's the deal with Anthony Richardson? You know, a couple years ago, he would come into trash time, and he had, I think, 175-yard run for a touchdown, and now, he's better than Tim Tebow. What's the deal with him?
No, he's not better than Tim. He's horrible. He's terrible. What do you mean better than Tim Tebow?
Well, I'm not saying that, but all the analysts are there's some people.
Oh yeah, I don't understand the infatuation with him either. The he's a disaster. He's not any good. Can't complete passes. I mean, I don't care how much the quarterback position has evolved over the last 10 years. You still have to be able to complete a pass. That's still job responsibility number 1, and he can't do that.
I agree. Well, that's all I got. Thanks
all right,
for the
bud.
call.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on, man. It was good to hear from you. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Hey, good afternoon, Lou.
Yeah, good morning.
I'm a Michigan fan and alum. Just wanted to give my 2 cents about the playoff matchups. also the Luke Fickell hire. First, the playoff matchups. I don't think Michigan's going to blow out TCU, but I do think they'll win comfortably. It's a mismatch, Michigan's offensive line against TCU's defensive line. I think the running game will wear them down in the second half. Michigan will lead for the entire fourth quarter and win by 10, 13, 17, something in that range.
Yeah, that sounds like kind of the general sort of talking head consensus that you hear. So yeah, I mean, a lot of that makes sense. I think that's why Michigan's such a big favorite. The lines of scrimmage are a big advantage to Michigan in this game.
Yeah, and Max Duggan is a stud. If they do win, it's because he's going to put the team on his shoulders like he's done so many times this season and just will them to victory.
The scary thing to me, if Georgia was playing TCU, I would be thinking a lot of the same things you're thinking, because, you know, Georgia and Michigan are pretty similar teams. I would be thinking, okay, Georgia's going to dominate along the lines of scrimmage. Georgia's the more talented team. I think Georgia can control kind of the pace and the flow of the game. But what would worry me as a Georgia fan is there is no point in that game where you can be comfortable as a fan that TCU is beat. It does. I don't care if you're up 20 points. You have to sweat that entire friggin' game, because TCU does not care that they're down 3 scores. They think they can win until there's 0 seconds on the clock at the end. There is no quit or give up or we can't do this in that team at all. It's the most unbelievable thing I've seen. Not that they did it once. Lots of teams do that. We see it every year. Somebody will come back from 20 points down. TCU did it every single week for the last 3 months, and they almost did it again against Kansas State. I mean, it's just been unbelievable. So that would be the problem to me if Georgia was playing TCU. Was like, man, I've got to sit here and sweat this entire game because there's no such thing as a good lead against TCU.
That's true. That's true. And Sonny Dykes has done a fantastic job with the talent they have in his first year. If they had won the Big 12 championship, he would have Coach of the Year locked up. As it is, I still think he'll probably win it. And if TCU and Michigan play 10 times, TCU's probably going to win 1 or 2.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not like it can't happen. I think Michigan would need to beat themselves by turning the ball over, and I don't think that'll be an issue because, again, I do think the run game will be effective, especially in the second half.
Yeah.
I also think Georgia gets the dub over Ohio State. You've alluded to this a number of times this year. From a matchup perspective, Ohio State, even if Michigan is better than Ohio State, I do think Ohio State has a better chance of beating Georgia than Michigan just because of the athletes they have, particularly at wide receiver and quarterback. But I do think Georgia will be too much for them. And I think we get a rematch in the national title game. And I think Georgia, again, wins comfortably. Hopefully it's not a total beatdown like last year, but Georgia's defense is just too much. I think Michigan's offensive line has improved.
Yeah.
They were great last year.
I think a Michigan-Georgia game would be a much better game than it was last year. I think, it's Michigan's first trip to the playoffs. So, a little overwhelming maybe for them. And Georgia's defense was just, last year was just, Georgia's defense is good this year. It's not on the level that it was last year. It's just not. I don't care what any Georgia fan, I don't care what stat you show me. Now, I watched the games. Georgia's defense last year was like a boa constrictor. It just strangled people. Just choked them. It was just 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Teams this year get first downs on Georgia. They gain yards. They get up to midfield. Hell, they get into the red zone. We're still one of the best teams in the country at keeping teams out of the end zone. But we give up more yards in between than we did last year for sure. But I think it would be a much better game between Georgia and Michigan.
Yeah. And J.J.
year.
McCarthy, he's not a great pocket passer, but he does offer more with his legs. He does offer something Georgia has to plan for, keeping him contained in the run game. So that will help as well. But we'll see. We'll see. I still think Georgia goes back-to-back.
Well, not going to get any argument from me.
So that's what I want to say on the playoffs. As far as Luke Fickell is concerned, I did listen to your video earlier today. I agree that it's a home run hire for Wisconsin. Probably the hottest name they've ever gotten as a coach. And I think he does instantly make them the Big Ten West favorite heading into next year. But the problem for me goes for after that, from Luke Fickell's perspective. If the Big Ten ends up getting rid of divisions when USC and UCLA join in 2024, I think he's going to have a hard time getting his team into the Big Ten title game. if you tell Wisconsin fans you need to finish in the top 2 of a group of teams that includes Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, and Southern Cal in any given year to play for a Big Ten championship, that's a big ask with the talent they currently have. So he'll have to dramatically improve their recruiting if he wants to do that.
The good news is that while you're right, it's going to become harder to win the Big Ten title. That's happening at the same time the playoffs are expanding to 12 teams. So even though you want to win the Big Ten title, you don't necessarily have to win the Big Ten title or even be in the Big Ten title game to make the playoffs, you know?
True. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, if you're Luke Fickell, to be a head coach of his caliber, obviously you're a competitor. So he wants to go out. In his mind, he probably thinks I can win the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And prove people like me wrong. And
I'm
all
curious to
the power
see what he does in the transfer portal, because I know Wisconsin isn't considered like a landmark destination for transfers or whatever. But there ain't that many college football coaches floating around that can tell a kid, hey, I took a team to the playoffs.
No.
At a group of 5 school. What do you think I can do here at Wisconsin? You know, so I don't know. And then what brand of offense are they going to play there? Because forever Wisconsin's been this 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Let's put 3 running backs into the NFL and 400-pound offensive linemen. And that's been good to win 10 games a year almost every year for the last 20 years. But it hasn't been good enough to do anything over and above that. I'm wondering if he brings a more modern offense to Wisconsin, which is really something they've never had. I'm real curious about what he's going to do there, what kind of staff he's going to put together, what style of offense they're going to run, who he gets to play quarterback, all those kinds of things. But I really like that hire, Luke Fickell to Wisconsin. It seems like it fits. He seems like a Big Ten guy to me. He, as far as recruiting goes, he's going to be recruiting the same areas he was recruiting at Cincinnati. The difference is now he gets to tell the kids, hey, you'll be at a Power 5 school. Playoffs are going to 12 teams. I've been to the playoffs when it was only 4 teams. I can definitely get you there now that it's 12. I think he's going to have success there.
Yeah, and I hope you're right. You know, the Big Ten West was horrible this year.
Yeah.
And I think with Matt Rule, that's a longer rebuild. But both him and Fickell, hopefully they improve the conference. I just think if I was Luke Fickell, I'd be licking my chops at the thought of going to the Big 12 when Texas and OU are leaving. And there's really no other big name brands of that caliber in the conference. I think he could have had a lot of success there, but it's cool to have him in the Big Ten. And yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
All right, buddy.
Keep up the good work.
Yeah,
Take
man.
care.
Appreciate you coming on, man. A good call. It was good to hear from you. Let's see. Sean D., thank you for hitting the PayPal link tonight, sir, to help support the show and the channel. That means a lot to me. Thank you. He says, great show as always, Lou, minus the Amway salesman. Does Tulane have a shot against USC? Interesting question. Lastly, take away the stats and teams and go back to the actual definition of the Heisman, which is on its website, as the most outstanding player in college football. My 3 were Bijan Robinson, Jalen Carter, and Marvin Harrison Jr. I've caught heat for this. I love Bijan Robinson. Now, I don't know if you're disqualifying Blake Corum because he got hurt. I would take Blake Corum. If I'm looking at a running back this year, I would take Blake Corum as the best running back in football. Jalen Carter, I obviously agree with. He might be the best player in all of college football. And Marvin Harrison Jr. is just, I've seen Marvin Harrison Jr. make catches that I had to watch him 10 times. He's unbelievable to watch. So those are 3 great players there. Back to the Tulane and USC thing, because this is interesting. And we were talking about this, maybe it was on the morning show or something the other day. Georgia has been in this position before where you just missed the playoffs, you make a New Year's 6 game, and they stick you with a group of 5 opponent. Georgia played Cincinnati in the Peach Bowl in 2020. Cincinnati was a really good team. I knew they were a really good team. I tried to tell people they were a really good team. All anybody ever wanted to say was, what are group of 5? What are group of 5? Georgia beats them on basically a last-minute field goal, and I had to hear for 8 months about how Georgia's not any good because they only beat Cincinnati by a field goal. Well, the following year, Cincinnati was a playoff team in that, with the same players they had the year before. I'm not saying Tulane's a playoff team. My point is, when you're a Power 5 team and you make a New Year's 6 game, that means you had a pretty good year. When they match you up with the group of 5 team, As a fan base, you're in a no-win situation. You're in a no-win situation. If Southern Cal beats Tulane by 50 points, the majority of people on the internet are going to go, it's fucking Tulane. What are you bragging about? It's Tulane. And God forbid you lose, you got to hear for 8 months about how you lost to a Group of 5 team. I like when Group of 5 teams get in these big games because I like to watch them, but I don't like it when it's Georgia because there's a no-win situation. And I don't know who's going to win that game. I mean, Caleb Williams is a sophomore, so he's not going to the NFL, so I'm assuming he's going to play in this bowl game. What about Jordan Addison, though? He's off to the NFL. Is he going to play? And so, in other words, you just don't know. Everybody on Tulane is going to play. This is the Super Bowl for them. They're not sitting anybody out. They're taking this thing seriously. How seriously is Southern Cal taking it when they were one game away from making the playoffs just to wake up the next morning and find out they're playing Tulane? So it's a dangerous game for Southern Cal. Southern Cal's a better team than Tulane, but, you know, you see a lot of weird things happen in bowl games anyway. And when you've got a Group of 5 team that's playing like their hair is on fire against a Power 5 team that maybe, you know, doesn't want to be there, it's a bad situation to be in as a fan base. I hated it when we played Cincinnati. I thought that was a good win Georgia had over Cincinnati. You know, I know it was a good win, but because it was a Group of 5 team, I had to hear all offseason about how Georgia sucks because they only won the Peach Bowl by 3 points in the last second field goal against terrible Cincinnati team. And that's what will happen to Southern Cal if they lose to Tulane or barely beat Tulane or whatever. Thank you for hitting the PayPal link to help support the show, buddy. I really appreciate that. I appreciate that. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou. All right. I guess you try again next time. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Hey, can you hear me?
Good morning. You're
Hello?
on with Uncle Lou.
Just make sure you can hear me, correct?
Hello?
Uh-oh.
Who is it? Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Hey, Uncle Lou, Talks Pit here.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Oh, not too much. Honestly, I'm gonna agree with you as far as the whole Keaton Slovis thing. I was caught off guard with that. I know
because he didn't get benched, did he?
No.
And now, what is this I hear about? Is Phil Jerkovic transferring to Pitt?
Yeah.
What? This is like some kind of weird
Pitt
trades
fans are
going
like,
on. This is weird. I don't understand
Look,
this. Man. What the fuck is going on?
I'm not the smartest college football fan in the world.
I believe you.
Admit that.
Yeah, I believe you.
But people are saying this is an upgrade over Slovis, which that is true. But also at the same time, like you said earlier with Pigskin Pete, why would you trust a quarterback who's transferred twice already?
Yeah, I mean, look, I said it earlier. I support the players' right to be able to go to school where they want to go and play football where they want to play. I also support the idea that Keaton Slovis is how old? 22 now? However old he is.
23, I think.
Okay, 23. Okay, fine. Transfer. But if no one wants you and you're stuck with nowhere to play, that's your fault. Or if you do transfer somewhere and it doesn't work out, I mean, that's your fault. You know,
exactly. I mean,
fine. But if nobody wants you, then what?
I think he could have actually been better if he would have stayed. With the full year under Cignetti in the offense, Cignetti would hopefully be able to realize, hey, this didn't work, that worked, let's change this, let's change that. And with the possibility of our two offensive weapons returning, Jared Wayne and Izzy Abanikanda, I think he could have been better, even with us losing our whole entire offensive line. Because most of our offensive linemen missed multiple games because of God knows how many injuries we suffered. So all the backups got more playing time than the actual starters did. So it made no sense for Keaton Slovis to transfer and to bring in a quarterback who chose Notre Dame over Pitt when we were the first ones to offer him. He's a Pittsburgh kid, Phil Dracovic.
Right.
He chose Notre Dame, got benched behind, I can't remember who, transferred to Boston College, had one good year, and has sucked for the last two. Injury prone, and now he's on his third school. I don't really see how that is really an upgrade over who we had before.
Yeah.
I just don't get it.
Right.
And I've tried to explain that to Pitt fans and everything. There's better quarterbacks out there in the transfer portal that we could go after other than Phil Dracovic. Hello, that Penn State quarterback, Christian Billano something. I can't pronounce his last name. He's projected or crystal balled to commit to Pitt. And we just got a 3-star. I know it's not that big of a deal, but we just got a 3-star quarterback commit out of somewhere in California, who probably is better than Dracovic, to be honest. Because in my personal opinion, I don't know how much you've watched his playing or his game film, but Dracovic is not accurate. He can run.
Yeah,
but he ain't accurate.
I've studied Jerkovic's game film till I'm blue in the face.
What's your opinion on him?
Exactly whatever you said.
See, I think this coming season is going to be worse than what we're now, especially losing everybody, because we're losing our whole entire offensive line. Most of our defensive line is out of eligibility, even after COVID. We're going to lose all our linebackers; they're all gone. 2 of our safeties are gone, so we're pretty much maybe at best going to return 6, maybe 7 starters.
Yeah, well, look on the bright side. At least you beat West Virginia. You know what I mean?
I know. To see, that's the one good thing. Actually, I thoroughly enjoyed humiliating Miami more than I did beating West Virginia.
Yeah.
And I know that doesn't sound like too much because Miami plays like garbage this year, but at least we still have an ACC title, which they don't.
Yeah.
Suck on that, Hurricanes and Hurricane T2Y, whatever the hell your name is.
Pine
and
Cone.
Slim Shady Canes, you asshole.
Ooh. Some Slim Shady Kane slander there.
Oh,
all
yeah,
right, all right, Pitt, man, I'm going to have to let you go. I appreciate you
All right, no
coming
problem,
on, buddy.
Uncle.
Good luck to whatever team it was you were talking about. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Man, everybody's coming out with blood. That's right, son. Going to the Orange Bowl, playing the Tater Man.
That's right. Going to be a good
Now,
one.
yeah, I think it's going to be a great game. Now, here's my thing. Do you think that was just a one-off showing for Klubnik, or do you think that's how he's going to be?
No, I don't think he'll play like that in every game. No.
I don't either, because I've been getting a lot of crap from Clemson fans like, oh, yeah, look how South Carolina, look what you let them score 63 on you. Oh, yeah, well, Dabo ain't going to let that happen. We're going to kick your ass.
Yeah. I mean, he may be better than DJ Ukulele, but that's a pretty low bar there. But and you will spend a month preparing for Cade Klubnik, not a week preparing for DJ Ukulele, and then they put Klubnik in. I mean, those kinds of things matter.
Yeah.
Because you prepare for who you think you're gonna play. They put somebody else in, it can screw you up. So Tennessee knows that they're playing Klubnik, not Ukulele.
Exactly, and maybe they'll finally shut up all the Clemson fans who like to run their dick holes talking about if they played in the SEC, they go 12-0 every year.
Yeah, don't let me down. I mean, if you think I'm hard on Tennessee now, then fuck around and find out if you lose to Clemson.
Oh, trust me, we'll deserve it. We'll deserve it. I'll be right there with you.
And Tennessee should win this game because regardless of how disappointing it might have been at the end to find out you couldn't get in the playoffs or whatever. This is still the best season Tennessee's had in a long, long time. There should be plenty of motivation for Tennessee to show up and play well in this game, whereas Clemson is still in kind of, well, if we're not in the playoffs, what do we care type of mode.
Pretty much like Alabama, pretty much.
Close to it, yeah. So not that Clemson will show up and just mail it in, but the motivation factor should be on Tennessee's side in this game.
Yeah, because here's the thing: a lot of the players, because I've got good connections with the people in Knoxville that's involved with the team, and I can say this: where Dabo made the comments about Tennessee, they took that pretty personal. And when they seen that they got to play Clemson in the Orange Bowl, it was like they were just frothing at the mouth.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we're going to show this bastard. And besides, we haven't forgotten that 2003 Peach Bowl, where you whipped our ass.
Yeah. Well, everyone else has.
Yeah, well, we haven't. But I'll say this. Have the Alabama fans stopped bitching about the playoffs?
No.
Oh, my God. And that I just don't get it. And my thing is I don't see them having this immediate turnaround next
year. I think they're going to if they don't figure something out at quarterback and wide receiver next year, then you might be right.
Because I'm looking at this. They got all these offensive linemen transferring out, and I think we can all agree that's something you can't just find in the portal all the time, especially someone that's SEC level.
Well, first of all, I've heard this mentioned a few times about that. Everybody that recruits in the top 5 and 10 has a bunch of people transfer. Georgia had 15 people transfer out after last season. 15 left. We brought 0 in. We're 13-0 in the odds-on favorite to win the national championship.
Yep.
The people that are transferring from Alabama are transferring because they're either not playing now or they've been told they're not going to play next year.
Or it could be because the coordinators are going to get fired or something like that.
Something. But look, I mean, Alabama's going to have just as much talent next year as they had this year. But if they don't get something figured out at quarterback and wide receiver, I don't know how they may have a similar season to what they had this year. Because if you take Bryce Young off this year's Alabama team, they're 7-5. They're 100%. They're 7-5.
Yeah.
We can debate what the Heisman means. We all know what the MVP means. Bryce Young is the most valuable player to their team in all of college football, period. You take him off of Alabama, and they're 100% a 7-5 team. It may be worse.
Yeah, and here's the thing, too. I like to tell a lot of Alabama fans this. I said, y'all are just pissed off because now Georgia and Tennessee is going to be running the SEC for the next 10 years.
Uh-oh. Yeah, they don't want to hear that. That's too much reality.
No, no, hell no. Georgia's doing it with our damn coaches, and Tennessee, y'all ain't been shit in years. I said, well, guess what? It's about to be the early 2000s for y'all again.
Uh-oh. Probation on deck. Danny White going to rat him out like Phil Fulmer did last time?
Well, I don't know about that.
Okay. All right, buddy. I'm gonna have to let you go. We still got people waiting, and I'm trying to get it wrapped up. But good luck in the Orange Bowl, man. That's one of the best bowl matchups on the slate this year. That's going to be a good one. I think a lot of people will be watching that one. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou and Two, and also in addition to that as well.
Lou, can you get me on a phone call with TriStar, please?
That was just him that was on. I wish I would have known you wanted to talk to him, but he's gone now. TriStar, man, come back on if you're listening still, and I'll put you on with this Starbird, man. Here, let me do this. Let me take the next call and see if he'll join back, and then I'll put both of y'all on. So stay in the back room, Starbird, man. TriStar Sports, man, Tennessee, man. Call back in. Come back into the back room and put you on. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
What's up? How are you?
Doing good.
Doing good. So, I just wanted to ask you, what are your playoff predictions for this year?
I think it's going to be Georgia versus Ohio State will be the 1 versus 4, and if I had to guess on the other, I'll go Michigan TCU 2 versus 3.
Come on, you know what I meant, like the score.
Yeah, I'm not giving score predictions a month before the game.
Oh, okay, my bad. So another thing I wanted to ask, sorry, was never mind, I forgot, sorry.
No sign of Tri-Sport Man. We're going to do one more call, and then if he's not in here, then he's not in here.
Hey,
Good morning.
last
You're
time
on
I
with Uncle Lou and that, and
myself.
also in two.
Hey, last time I embarrassed myself, but I'm gonna ask one question. What do you think about the bowl game between UNC and Oregon? Who's gonna win?
Again, but it's hard to make predictions on any of these bowl games until right before they're played because you have to know who's quitting and who's not. Like there's rumors that Drake May might be entering the transfer portal. Well, if that's true, he's probably not going to play in the bowl game. Is Bo Nix playing in the bowl game? These are things I don't know, and it makes it hard to predict the game.
See, I don't know if Drake will transfer because his family's like really connected to UNC.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. But I've heard on my local news, for example, that he's staying from the coach. But
yeah,
we'll
I don't know. I keep
But,
hearing this rumor.
I'm
I don't
going
know
for the
why it
Tar
would
Heels.
transfer, but I guess I don't know, but we'll see.
I'm going for the Tar Heels though because my sister's fiance went there. But I think Oregon's honestly going to pull it out. But I mean, you're right. We'll have to see who leaves or not.
Yeah, it's just really hard to predict these lower end bowl games this far out. Because you just who sits out in these games sometimes can have a big impact on who wins and loses. I mean, so it's just hard to make predictions this early.
Yeah, and then I saw your video on Tech the other day, and I think I honestly agree with you. I don't think they're committed to the football over
They're
there,
not
man.
at all. They're not. That's why they have Brent Key as a head coach. People think if I talk about a team that I don't like, then everything I'm saying is just made up and not true. Georgia Tech interviewed 12 people. You know why Jamie Chadwell's not the coach at Georgia Tech right now? Now, I don't know how much you know about Jamie Chadwell, but Jamie Chadwell runs a very specific offense at Coastal Carolina. They're really the only team in the country that runs it. It's like some kind of combination between the triple option and the zone read spread. It's really weird, but it works, and it's new, and it's innovative. If you're going to hire Jamie Chadwell, that's what you're hiring. Well, they told Jamie Chadwell, yes, we'll hire you, but you can't bring your offensive staff with you. What are they
doing?
What? Because they couldn't afford to pay him. The other coaches turned the job down because Georgia Tech couldn't guarantee enough money in the contract. Like if you fire me, I want all my money. Georgia Tech said, no, we can't afford. So it was just a mess. They don't care about football. They're broke. They can't afford football. They're just in a horrific situation. But thank you for the call, though. All right, Starbird, man, he don't want to come back on.
I didn't figure he did.
Yeah.
He don't want any. Lou, I was just gonna kind of take issue with him I was kind of biting my tongue until he said Georgia and Tennessee were going to be running the SEC. I mean, that's a joke, right? I mean, are they anywhere near Georgia right now?
No, they're not. No.
Which brings me to the point of the original point of the call, Lou. Does it surprise you that people are not talking about Georgia in more glowing terms? And what I mean by that is we're a month away from Georgia repeating as national champions, and they will, and having the team in place with the coaching staff and all the momentum in the world to do something that no one's done in the modern era, three-peat. I mean, we are right here at the doorstep, Lou, of Georgia becoming the dynasty that Alabama was with a little extra cherry on top. What do you think?
It is a little surprising to me. If you go back to like the week leading up to the Tennessee game, everyone picked Tennessee. Everybody. I'm talking about national media type people. It was weird. The game was in Athens. Georgia was undefeated. They're the defending national champions. They're the second most talented team in the country behind Alabama, and it's close. And everybody was picking Tennessee. Well, Georgia comes out, blows them out. And now we're playing Ohio State, and it's starting to sound kind of similar. Uh-oh, this is the type of team that beats Georgia, a good quarterback and good wide receivers. Well, yeah, teams with good quarterbacks and good wide receivers beat most teams they play most of the time. But that doesn't mean they beat Georgia. I mean, it is a little weird. Like I don't want to be the person that's sitting around saying, "Oh, everybody hates Georgia, they're disrespecting Georgia." I don't think that's what it is. It just is a little strange to me. It seems like Georgia is being treated as though they're not the favorite.
They're almost being treated like they treat the group of five, like, oh, they're winning because and making excuses. They're in the East, whatever their schedule, what this, that, and the other. But when you really look at Georgia, they are. I mean, let's use Mississippi State for example. They did not play a very good game against Mississippi State. They were at Starkville, a place that I've lived before, so I've been to a lot of state games, and it's loud as fuck in there. I mean, that's not an easy place to play. And they went over there and played a bad game and won by 30 or 40.
Yeah.
I mean, this is how good Georgia is. People need to understand that the Georgia football team they're looking at is about as good as it ever gets. Don't you think? I mean,
yeah. I mean, people just won't stop with the Missouri game thing. I feel like I need to remind people sometimes that, hey, Georgia won that game, by the way. Not that you would know by the way people talk about it. But other than that, no one's been in single digits. These games are over midway through the second quarter. I don't know. And then every time, it's like people just start lining up. Now they're doing it with Ohio State. And I will agree that Ohio State is the type of offense that could beat Georgia. But I just don't think they have the other pieces. I don't think they have the offensive line or the defensive line to stand up. They've got the quarterback and the wide receivers. There's not a bigger – no one has hyped up Ohio State's quarterback and wide receivers more than me. I mean, they're amazing. But you got to have more than that.
Well, if Georgia repeats, and we're all believing that they will, do you see the narrative shifting, or do you see the continual excuse parade and they haven't shown me nothing and all this? I mean, I talked to a guy during the SEC championship game, and he's going, man, Georgia's not showing me much.
Oh, well,
going, man,
I can tell you right now what you're going to hear because you're already hearing it. This is a down year in college football. There's no dominant team. There's no 2019 LSU. There's no 2020 Bama. These people still can't wrap their head around the idea that you can be a dominant program in college football with a can of corn playing quarterback. But you can. Turns out you can. You can be excellent in every other area and dominate college football. You don't have to have an NFL quarterback to win a national title. You don't. I mean, I was wrong too. I thought you did too. You don't. And a lot of people are just having a hard time accepting that. So, but that's what you're going to hear. Georgia could beat Ohio State by 40 and then whoever else by 40. And the talking point will be, well, this was a down year in football. There was just no dominant team. So, somebody had to win it. And
all this does is help Georgia psychologically, which for you is a good thing. But I agree with you. I think if they boat race Ohio State and Michigan, I mean TCU and whatever's in front of them.
Yeah.
They're just going to make excuses. But all I know is this, and I'll leave you with this. Georgia's going to be repeat national champions. They're going to have beaten the number one team this year in getting there and a bunch of other top 5 teams. And they're going to be locked and loaded for what should be a similar team as the last couple of years. And you're right there at the doorstep of big-time dynasty, and I think that's where we're headed, Lou. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, buddy. Appreciate you calling in. Okay. And I'll be honest, even if this is a down year in college football, I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less. Georgia can win a national title in the toughest year ever or the easiest year ever. It doesn't matter to me at all. Not one bit. Maybe if we had 25 national titles, I'd be more picky about it, but we don't, so I ain't. I'll take any national title Georgia can get. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
What's up, Uncle?
Hey, bud.
Hey.
Hey.
I want to talk to you about Clemson.
All right, go ahead, Tater Man.
Really? Okay, so, what do you think about the Clemson-Tennessee game?
I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's one of the most exciting matchups in all the bowl season. I hope everybody plays. I hope we don't get, there's some defensive linemen for Clemson that are expected to be drafted pretty high. I hope they play. I hope whatever future NFL busts Tennessee has going in the draft this year play. I hope everybody plays.
Yeah, I'm glad that DJ is gone too.
Yeah, well, he's not playing. He's in the portal.
Yeah,
He's gone.
he's in the portal. Yeah, I'm glad that he's gone.
Yeah,
I think that K's gonna do like a lot better and lead us to a lot better place.
Yeah, and he'll be back next year for the whole season. So, I still think Clemson needs some help in other places. They need a go-to wide receiver. They're going to need to replace a lot of pieces on that defense from this past year, and we'll see what they do with their offensive and defensive coordinator because a lot of the fans aren't happy with them either. But they it looks like they have the right guy at quarterback now.
Yeah.
Yep.
That it does.
Yeah.
Because you can finally open up the playbook with Cave. Unlike DJ, because he always throwing picks.
Right. Well, you make a good point.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good luck to the Taters and have fun over there at the dump on the hump. And we'll talk to you next time. You're a little bit late. Try started. Guy's already gone.
Oh, man. I just seen that. I was like, damn. Okay, well, what do you want to talk about?
I don't know. I think he wanted to debate you about something. I don't know, but he's gone now. So, yeah. And
okay.
you're the last one on, too, so I'm going to let you go before anybody else gets on so I can end the show.
Oh.
All right, buddy.
Well.
I'll talk to you later since you've already been on. All right, nobody else is on hold, so I am going to wrap the show up. But I do appreciate everybody tuning in today. Let's get caught up here in the comments section before we get out of here. How about that? Let's do that. Nikki G, thank you for the super chat. Says, remember, chat, Lou's 2 favorite questions are, can you hear me now? And what are you doing right now? Yeah, that's another one they say. Hey, Lou, what's going on? Oh, nothing, just hosting this call-in show. Like, you literally know what I'm doing. You know what's going on. You don't have to ask me. You can see what I'm doing. Hello? The second one is best because he's usually always doing a call-in show, but it's nice to confirm each time. Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Nikki. Cowpoke Ranch. Wow, thank you for the very generous super chat, sir. I sure appreciate that. Let's see. Oklahoma State fan, I'm guessing. That's what it looks like. Oklahoma State fan. And Swaggy Man, thank you for the super chat. He says, hashtag can you hear me? Hashtag sorry. Hashtag hypothesis. Guy called in with a science project, didn't he? I wanted to explain his hypothesis to me. He had a control group and everything. It was weird. I thought he was going to make one of those clay deals where you put baking soda and vinegar down in it and it erupts like a volcano. What the heck's going on here? Oh, boy. Oh, boy. How was the comments section tonight? I peeked in a couple of times. I can't look in the comments section because it seems like every time I look in the comments section, I see something hilarious and it makes me want to start laughing. And I don't want to be rude to the person on the phone, but I caught a couple of comments that had me laughing here today. But I hope y'all had a good time in the comments section. Still can't get that Texas caller out of my head, says Tyrone Smith. Stetson isn't even one of the best 4 players on the team, says Nared. Yeah, he might not even be one of the best 4 white players on the team. I don't know. He's better than Chaz Chambliss. He's not better than Brock Bowers. It's close between him and Ladd McConkey. I guess Stetson be tied for maybe the second best white player on the team. Well, I don't know. Tate Ratledge is pretty good. Maybe it's Brock Bowers, Tate Ratledge, Stetson and Ladd McConkey tied for 3rd. Chaz Chambliss a distant 4th. Thorson, he's not really white. He's Aboriginal. Have a great day.